All right, hello everyone. Looks like we're live. I'm joined here with the one and only Gary Yourofsky. This is the guy who turned me vegan, I think about 15 years
Ja, der Typ hat Vegan Gains vegan gemacht.
ago. So, obviously I want to, you know, talk about a few topics with you, burnout with activism, problems with, the animal rights community, stuff like that. But before we get
Oh Gott, hoffentlich geht es ja nicht um Politik. Obwohl bei den beiden hoffentlich geht es um Politik.
into that, tell us about Sasha Farm.
The reason why I'm back in action, I've been going to Sasha Farm.
Genau, der Gary Yourofsky, der ist ja ausgebrannt und ist dann für 5 Jahre oder sowas von der Bildfläche verschwunden. Und der ist jetzt zurück. Der macht jetzt irgendwie diesen Non-Dom-Aktivismus in Köln für 1 Monat. So, ja, alle fahren dahin, um den zu treffen. Ich warte immer noch auf deinen Politik-Channel. Ja, ich warte immer noch auf die 10 Bitcoin. Und dann legen wir los mit dem Politik-Channel.
Animal sanctuary up in Manchester, Michigan for around 30 years. I swear it's the Garden of Eden. It's one of the few places I can go to over the years to decompress and see animals in their natural state, cows and pigs and chickens and turkeys, goats and sheep, living how they're supposed to live in peace without anybody taking anything from them. Now, what happened was, I think it was 2021, Dorothy Davies, one of the founders, she passed away. She ran a tight ship. There would have been no problems if she didn't pass. Unfortunately, her partner did not do a good job running it afterwards. He went King Lear on everybody, believing that everyone was out to get him. And everybody loved him and Dorothy. But for some reason, he started freaking out and firing people, firing Shara Jones, the manager. And I tried to get involved to bring some peace. By the way, it's funny. I used to be a big infighter. Richard, now I'm a mediator. I'm trying to bring people together. Unfortunately, it did not work. So what happened is he is insisting that we pay him for the 50 acres that Sasha Farm is on. 50 acres in Manchester goes for around 675,000. He took 250 out of the coffers, which really put a dent in everything because it costs 250 a year just to run the place. So we still owe him 425. So what we're trying to do now is get out of the hole. If we could pay him off, we'd actually be fine because we always bring in around 250. And I want people to know I don't receive any compensation. I'm doing this because I love this place and I've been going there for so long, and it would absolutely break my heart if this place had to close down. And this movement has been really terrible over the years with supporting sanctuaries. You might have heard there's some term going around, effective altruism, and they don't think it's money wisely spent to try to keep a cow alive for 20 years. But man, we kill 1 billion cows on this planet every year. Are you telling me the vegans in this movement can't keep a couple thousand alive who escape from the hellholes that we've created? It's outrageous to me. It's not effective and it's not altruistic to deny these animals.
Ja, wenn man fair ist, muss man sagen, diesen Preis, das Geld, was sie da sammeln, das müssten Omnis bezahlen und nicht wir Veganer. Wir Veganer zahlen dafür, dass die Omnis das gemacht haben. Also.
A chance to live out their lives. So
übel, dass das die Veganer ausbügeln müssen.
So if everybody can please go to sashafarm.org and donate what you can. I'm not necessarily expecting one person to come up with the 425 or the 675, but if we could raise enough money to get out of the hole over the next year or so, things will be just fine. And there's a great team of activists there, Shara Jones and Darcy and Bob Harvey and all the volunteers. Everybody's doing a wonderful job because they love those animals. So again, fundraising was never my thing, so it's kind of weird for me to do this and ask people, please go and donate to sashafarm.org. Thank you.
Yeah, and on stream, you guys can see the banner at the bottom of the screen. So there's the link to sashafarm.org. You can just click it in. There's also a link in the description where you can donate directly.
Nein, Teppich, das habe ich nie gesagt. Auch nicht ansatzweise irgendwas in diese Richtung.
To Sasha Farm. And I'll be answering questions during this live stream. So if you donate through Streamlabs, all the proceeds that I get through Streamlabs on the stream, I'm just going to donate that to Sasha Farm. So whatever you choose, you can either donate directly, or if you just want to ask Gary questions on stream, the Streamlabs link is just in the chat. And if you want to ask Gary a question,
da müsste nur jeder Omni in Kanada 1 Euro donaten dann oder $1 donaten, das Geld wäre zusammen.
And support Sasha Farm, there you go. So, yeah, I came across one of your speeches about 15 years ago, and a friend.
Das ist eine ultimative Rede, die beste Rede aller Zeiten. Das ist genau die, glaube ich, die er hier anspricht.
Friend of mine at the time, he was in the fitness industry. He was like a fitness model, competitor, bodybuilder. He came across your speech. He shared it on his Facebook, and he said, "Wow, after watching this, I'm never going to eat meat again." So I thought that was interesting. And
Ja, Alter, wenn man wüsste, wie viele Menschen der vegan gemacht hat mit dieser einen Rede, mit diesem einen Video. Fucking ridiculous. Wenn ich schätzen müsste, ja, es kommt darauf an, wie man das kalkuliert. Jetzt ein direkt oder auch, wenn die Leute dann wiederum andere vegan gemacht haben. Also auch indirekt, wenn du auch indirekte mit einbeziehst, keine Ahnung, 100.000 oder so, würde ich sagen.
I knew about veganism.
Weil ich meine, also jede Person, der von Vegan Gains vegan gemacht wurde, muss ja auch da rein kalkulieren, zum Beispiel.
Heard the term, but I didn't exactly know what it was. Like, I didn't get it. No one really explained it to me. I knew they didn't eat any animal products of any kind. So it wasn't just vegetarianism, but they also didn't eat eggs, milk, nothing. I didn't understand that because, I was just completely ignorant. I didn't know, like, how bad dairy was, how bad eggs were. But, like, I could understand, the idea of not wanting to harm animals. I actually was considering going vegetarian eventually. Like, I was really into athletics, and I thought, maybe once I was done sports, like, I'd go vegetarian. So I was already kind of interested. So, I clicked on the link, watched your video, and one thing really stood out to me near the beginning of the speech, where you said, as children, we love animals. We had stuffed animals, our pet dogs, cats, we love them. If we ever saw anybody as children harming, an animal, we'd kick and scream and freak out. And
ja, da gibt es so herzzerreißende Videos von Kindern, die um Tiere weinen, weil die Eltern die Tiere umbringen wollen zum Essen, auf Bauernhöfen und so.
And that really made me realize, like, I wasn't living in line with my values. And right away, like, I immediately took you seriously and listened. And, it was shocking seeing not only how bad the, meat industry is, but it also blew my mind how bad eggs and dairy were. And you also, dispelled the myth that
#Vegetarier.
Like, you can get as much protein as you need, all the vitamins, minerals, stuff like that. That was also a myth, that, I wasn't around any vegans, to tell me otherwise. So right then and there, I realized I can live in line with my values. And there's only benefits. I'm only going to be healthier, probably live longer, and, I can train, build muscle, all the same. So that day, right after watching your speech, I went vegan. And I also showed it to my mom. She actually went vegan with me. So me and my mom
Ja, was für eine gute Mutter, ey, krass.
turned vegan that day after watching your speech. So that was really great. And then, I became an activist and everything, and the rest is history.
I think that's often that is so awesome, Richard. Makes me love you even more. You had an open mind, and that's all it takes. Because listen, you can't grow up knowing everything. I often find it so disheartening when people think they already know everything. How could you possibly know everything?
Yeah.
And we were all like this. We were all lied to as kids, by the way, right? And I'm not just talking about the meat, cheese, milk, and eggs, our parents and our government, our religion telling us that hamburgers grow in hamburger patches. But think about all the lies we're told: Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, Easter Bunny. And then parents always say, oh, you can't tell the kids the truth. They can't handle it. The more I think about it, actually, it's the parents that can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
The kids are fine with learning the truth. So get out there and start telling the kids what's going on. But yeah, you bring up something this fabulous. You just went into this with an open mind, just like I did, just like every vegan. You listened to the information. It made sense. It made you align with your values, because we always grew up loving animals, and we would scream and cry if somebody was mean to them in front of us. But all of a sudden, we lost that along the way. So what I tried to do with all my lectures was to put
Ja, Kinder weinen darum und das wird dir ja abtrainiert. Ansonsten wird es ja immer darum weinen. Das wird ja abtrainiert, indem dir die ganze Zeit Tierprodukte ins Maul gestopft werden. Von dem Moment, wo du aus deiner Mutter rauskommst.
people back in touch with the animals. That's it. And if you do listen with an open mind, it's going to work. Flat out, it's just going to work. And by the way, big thumbs up to your mom, too. I never had any success with my family members or my friends. Give me strangers, though, and I shine. I think I've converted several 100,000 around the world.
Ja, das ist krass, ey, dass solche Leute wie der sogar nicht mal seine Eltern vegan kriegen. Auch bei Raffaele auch genau das Gleiche. wo man denkt, so die krassesten Leute eigentlich, es hat niemand das so sehr verstanden wie die und die kriegen ihre Eltern nicht vegan. Das ist so insane. Und so traurig, ey.
Some say millions, but not one friend and not one family member. But big thumbs up to you, Richard, and your mom for embracing that vegan lifestyle and for sharing the message and for being an activist too. Let me throw this out there for all the vegans out there. It's great that you're vegan, honestly, but please, you got to get out there and preach and teach to other people. If every vegan converted one person and they converted one person, we would liberate the animals a lot sooner.
Yeah. And I don't think it's just an open mind. I think there's a willingness to just do better. And
Also meine Eltern, ja.
I recently, got in touch with a big YouTuber. His name's Turkey Tom. Like, you wouldn't know about him, but he's a big YouTuber. And we collaborated to do a documentary. It was about me and my vegan activism and stuff. And we sat down and watched Dominion, that animal rights film. And, we talked about veganism beforehand. And I said, I think Dominion would also really change your mind, like actually seeing it. And we were both watching it together, and we were literally getting teary-eyed, because it was so horrible. And, like, he got it. Like, he understood. I think on an intellectual level, he understood veganism, but he kind of internalized the message. And we had a few messages back and forth, and, he went out to get, vegan burger from Burger King, the Impossible Burger and stuff, and he tried getting some mock meats. And then, like, I think a week or two later, he messaged me, and he said, like, he can't do it. Like he said, there's all these inconveniences that pop up with, meeting friends and them wanting to go out to a certain restaurant. And I think some people, they just...
Du hast Dominion gesehen, davon geweint und dann nach 2 Wochen gibst du Veganismus auf, weil es ist inconvenient. Oh mein Gott. Wie das keinen Sinn ergibt. Alter Schwede. Du hast auf emotionaler Basis sogar verstanden und du gibst das auf wegen inconvenience.
One, have an unwillingness to just be better. And I think there is like the sort of social programming where you're convinced you just can't. Like something is just too difficult. And people are sort of gaslit into thinking if something's too difficult, you just can't do it. Even though, like, veganism is easy. Like, nobody's telling them to, like...
Ja, was für difficult, Leute. Was für difficult, Junge. Arbeitest du daran, irgendwie CRISPR voranzutreiben? Ja, dass man Gene, ein Stück aus dem Gen rausschneidet, ein neues Teil einfügt und das Gen funktioniert jetzt besser und du kannst zum Beispiel Krankheiten heilen, wie HIV zum Beispiel. Gibt es tatsächlich die CRISPR-Zwillinge. Sprechen wir davon oder sprechen wir davon, im Supermarkt daneben zu greifen?
Jump so high they reach the moon. Like, that's impossibly difficult. But they're like, it's just such a normal thing in society where if there's any inconvenience, any hardship, just give up, choose the easy way out.
Das wird es sein. Das wird das Problem sein, ja. Sobald du irgendeine Inconvenience hast, oh ne, du musst halt zu einem anderen Supermarkt auf einmal gehen, weil nur die haben irgendwie den veganen Gyros oder sowas. Oh, das ist so schwer und ich muss ja jedes Mal dahin gehen und ich muss jede Woche einmal zu diesem Supermarkt, dann muss ich jede Woche einmal 1 Kilometer weitergehen. Es ist zu anstrengend. Es ist einfach zu anstrengend. Wie Vegan Gains gerne macht. Genau. Und dann musst du auch noch Chemie fressen. So. Zu schwer.
Who cares if it doesn't align with your values? It's difficult, so just don't even try.
Gott.
And there's just so many people I've come across.
Ja, das ist so frustrierend, sowas zu hören. Ne? Das Frustrierendste an solchen Gesprächen unter Veganern. Das ist einfach nur frustrierend, über diese ganzen Menschen zu reden.
That will admit to me that they're doing something wrong. They know they're doing something wrong, but they're just unwilling to commit because it's hard. And
because caring is difficult.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times, I'm sure you went through this, that when somebody screams and yells at you because you're asking them to be kind to somebody else, there are moments I say, man, I wish I didn't know. Life was so much easier when I didn't care, when I was selfish, when I only was concerned about.
Genau, und das ist das, was der gerade anspricht, das ganze Thema der letzten Minuten, das ist das Thema Dummheit, wie sagt man auf Englisch, Stupidity is bliss. Könnt ihr euch daran erinnern, als ihr dumm wart? Also ich kann es. Ich kann mich erinnern an irgendwann, als ich 12 war oder sowas. Ich wusste nichts. Ich habe das gemacht, was Spaß macht. Mich hat nichts interessiert. Ich kannte das Wort Politik nicht mal. Gar nichts wusste ich. Man kommt nach Hause und das Essen steht auf dem Tisch und das ist das Leben. Man geht jeden Tag raus mit Freunden spielen, kommt nach Hause essen, schlafen, man steht auf, geht mit Freunden spielen oder zur Schule, irgendwas malen oder sowas. Dummheit ist Bliss. Je mehr du weißt, umso unerträglicher wird das Leben.
Myself. Now, of course, I would never take that back, and I'm so glad that I got the knowledge. I know you are too, but everybody has to fight through that nonsense and the peer pressure, which is what you're bringing up.
Stell dir vor, es gibt so eine lustige logische Ausweitung. Stell dir einfach vor, du weißt über jedes Problem auf der Welt Bescheid. Stell dir das mal vor, was in deinem Kopf los ist.
To me, I run in.
Und dann stell dir vor, genau das Gegenteil, du weißt von keinem Problem auf der Welt. Du liegst den ganzen Tag nur in der Sonne und bist am Lächeln, am vor dich hingrinsen.
So many people that, oh, well, everyone else is doing it, I might as well do it. The way I see it, the public has never been on the right side of any social justice movement ever in history. This is how I know that we are on the right side. So if you're going to follow the crowd is going to mislead you. The crowd is going to take you down the wrong pathway. You need to do.
Ja, das ist das Krankeste überhaupt. Das ist so das Krankeste, was es überhaupt gibt. Dieses zu realisieren, dass 97% der Menschheit sich an diesem Wahnsinn gegen die Tiere beteiligt. Das ist so unvorstellbar. Da will man einfach nicht drüber nachdenken, was das bedeutet. Du weißt, dass du wohnst und du weißt, der neben dir, links von dir, rechts von dir, über dir, unter dir, alle Politiker, alle, die du im Fernsehen siehst, alle beteiligen sich daran, bezahlen jeden Tag Geld dafür. Bringt die um. Es ist,
Do what you know is right. What's in your heart, what's in your conscience. If this hurts your heart, and it should, to watch some innocent being be tortured and killed, to have the.
ich weiß, was right ist. Ich kenne Logik, von daher weiß ich, was right ist. Ja, gibt's Logik in der Schule oder was? Außer Mathematik.
Their baby stolen, then you need to make some changes in your life. And also keep in mind, new habits are hard to form. Of course they are. Old habits are hard to break. Get over the hump. I mean, think about it as a gym workout. If somebody showed you something new at the gym, it's always awkward at first. If I showed somebody that never lunged before how to do walking lunges, they're going to be, twisting and falling on the ground. But next week, all of a sudden you got it. The week after, okay, I can do walking lunges all around this damn gym 10 times. So get over the hump, fight through it, and then it's going to be another easy habit that's a part of your life. And keep in mind about all the cool things. Now, I'm at a different stage in my veganism. I no longer eat vegan junk food. Over the last 10 years, I've really cleaned up my diet.
You look like you're in good shape.
Breakfast.
Yeah, I've seen you flex your muscle.
Naja, man hat in der Schule ja sogar Kochunterricht, heißt Hauswirtschaft. Da haben wir Tiere gekocht. Wurde vom Lehrer so beigebracht. So, das kannst du ja alles nicht ausdenken, Mann.
And everything, yeah.
Not like yours, my man. Not like yours. I want your arms badly. But my breakfast is now a cup of barley with a half a cup of green lentils or a whole can of kidney beans. My lunch is 10 to 15 pieces of fruit. Dinner is about 5 to 6 different vegetables. And there's this brand new cool vegan product. I don't mean to drop somebody's name that didn't ask for it, but man, I can't. I love this product by Big Mountain. It's soy-free tofu.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That's made from fava beans, 0 grams of fat, 64 grams of protein. So right now I am huge on low to no fat and whole foods. My body just doesn't thrive anymore on junk food. Now, every once in a while, I'm hanging out at some veg fest, and I break down and give me this mock chicken burger. Of course, it tastes great. It's all.
Also die Ernährung, die er gerade genannt hat, die hört sich aber nicht so gut an. Okay, das Frühstück hat sich gut angehört und hat er gesagt, zum Mittag 15 Früchte, hat er gesagt, und zum Abend Gemüse. What?
Fat tastes fabulous. But 3 hours later, come and see me. I'm like, oh, why did I eat that? I don't like this at all. But give me that barley in the morning, and I'm hitting the gym. So yeah, try that whole food stuff too for everybody out there, especially for the long-time vegans.
Sowas würde ich niemals sagen. Whole Food, dieses Whole Food-Ding. Junge, wie du damit die Leute darauf fast sicher gehen kannst, dass sie irgendwann Veganismus aufgeben. Whole Food, wenn ich Whole Food nur höre ich schon Kalorienrestriktion. Puh, wenn es eine Sache gibt, womit Veganer Probleme haben, dann ist es auf ihre Kalorien zu kommen. Und da sowas empfehlen wie Whole Food oder Ernährung zu erzählen, zum Mittagessen, Obst, zum Abendessen, Gemüse. Puh, krieg ich Kopfschmerzen von.
And you're going to thrive. Yeah, most people around here think I'm in my 40s. I'm 54, about to be 55. As I used to tell the students who also complimented me on my appearance, try eating a fucking mango once in a while. You'd be surprised at the results.
Vegans just age better. They just do.
Yeah.
Like I even know junk food vegans where I'm surprised they look 10 years younger.
Right.
Um,
I usually notice, by the way, Richard, that vegans in general look about 10 years younger, and meat, dairy, and egg eaters on average look about 10 years older, which is a 20-year difference.
Yeah.
So the fountain of youth has been found. People are looking for it. It's in some mangoes. It's in some bananas. It's in some pomegranates. Check it out. It's in some barley.
Ja, geil. Es ist in Bananen drin. Gut, ich esse jeden Tag mindestens 2 Bananen. Seit 11,5 Jahren. So. Es gab eine Zeit, da habe ich jeden Tag 4 Bananen gegessen. In Zypern habe ich mir Smoothies gemacht mit 10 Bananen.
So Jania donated $5. Animals are my favorite people. Same. Yeah.
Mine
absolutely.
too.
Supreme Jewish Commander donated $3. It's just a troll comment.
Hallo.
But thanks for the donation,
Hallo, schön, dass du da bist, Kati.
Supreme Jewish Commander. Appreciate that. Yeah, you mentioned too, like with society being in the wrong in almost every situation. I think you just have to look at things like you decide what person you are. You can either be a follower, do what everyone else does, do something you know is wrong, or you could be a leader. You could be the person who changes your friend group. You could be the person who actually shows everyone the right way to do something, and you can actually be a model for other people to follow. So it's a simple choice. You can either, be...
Oh ja, wenn du müde bist, Kati, leg dich hin, mach's dir bequem und nimm dein Kätzchen zu dir, kuschel dein Kätzchen und dann hör einfach dem Stream zu, du wirst bestimmt sehr gut einschlafen.
a loser who's just immoral,
Weil der Stream wird ruhig.
Does what everyone else does, or
Der wird ruhig, weil Veganer sind hier, wir Veganer sind hier unter uns.
you can just say fuck society. I do things my way, and you don't have to be friends with some of these people. You can push some people out who just don't adhere to your own moral values, who fall below the bar. Or like if you're lucky enough to have decent enough people around you, they can change too, and then you can all become better. But yeah, a lot of people just want to be weak and just do what everyone else does.
I'm not sure why people choose weakness instead of strength anyways, and why people
Weil es schwieriger ist, Veganer zu sein.
aren't quick to change their friends or lay down some laws. If you eat meat, I laid down this law in 1977. If you eat with me, you eat vegan, or we don't eat together. That's just the rule.
Yeah.
My table is a table of peace and justice and compassion. Don't be afraid to tell your family and your friends that too. And if they're going to put up a fight, get rid of them. Cut them out. You don't need them. They're not real
Oh, okay.
friends, and they're not wonderful family members either. Stand up and think about all the people that we admire. They're all people that didn't follow society, didn't follow the norm. They broke away
Ja, wir wissen auch, wer früher Society nicht gefolgt ist. Die Menschen, die gegen Sklaverei waren.
and did their own thing. So be a leader. Stop following the crowd. The crowd will get you killed every time.
All right, Supreme Jewish Commander donated another $3. Don't skip my donos need. # trolling for animals. Well, he likes to I got a lot of trolls on my channel, but I appreciate the support anyway. Greg the Vegan
I'll take
donated
the $3.
Yeah, Greg the Vegan donated $10. Love you, Gary. You're the reason I went vegan 10 years ago.
Thank you.
You've turned a lot of people vegan. It's actually pretty crazy, especially
It's
like pre-social media sort of era.
It's crazy. Keep in mind how ancient I am. When I started, there was no internet.
Yeah.
When I grew up, there were no cell phones. But I'm out here in Germany right now with Anonymous for the Voiceless, with AV, doing some demos out in Cologne. I was in Frankfurt.
Der ist gerade in Köln.
I can't believe how many Gary vegans there are,
Yeah.
and Gary vegan activists there are. I didn't realize I was also inspiring
Ich verkaufe sogar Merch mit seinem Gesicht drauf. Dol.
activists too along the way. I got to tell you, it was a lonely road that I was on, and sometimes I didn't think anybody was listening besides the students in the classroom, which was my focus. In 2000, I decided I'm not hanging out at animal rights conferences anymore. I did that from 96 to 2000. I kept seeing the same faces, city to city. I'm like, what do? We just go from city to city to hang out with each other, pat each other on the back? When does the activism start? So I broke away and said, I'm going to do what I can do. And I started setting up these classroom lectures, and that was my focus. These 20 students, these 50 students, these 150 students. And I was just going to convert as many people as I could that day. And again, I didn't know if other people were listening. I also didn't care because I was on a warpath.
Ach, der redet von damals, von seiner besten Rede, okay.
And I was on a mission, and man, 2,660 lectures later, my last lecture I gave at the end of 2014, it was one hell of a road. And for the most part, I was averaging 200 talks a year. I would only have about 15 or 20 lectures that turned into a Jerry Springer show, which is an amazing ratio considering the topic that I'm talking about, right? I mean, we have the toughest social justice movement ever. We got to convince people to be nice to chickens. And I was doing it. It was crazy. And I didn't mean that I turned everyone vegan in those other 180 classes that were good, but there weren't any divisive comments. People were actually listening, had an open mind, asking questions. So if they weren't going vegan, and a lot of them were, I was planting a seed. And sometimes it took students 2 or 3 times hearing my lecture before they went vegan, because I always spoke in the same classes. Once I got into a professor's class, 95% of the time, they wanted me back every semester. So there were students that came up to me and said, man, this is the 3rd time I heard you. I did like you the first time. I listened a little more the 2nd time, and now I got it, and I'm vegan. So it was a hell of a journey, Richard. And I got to see change before my eyes. Do you know that every lecture started the same? Everybody had their arms crossed. And I heard every snicker. I had supersonic hearing back then. People were muttering, I should have brought a hamburger in, should have brought my deer head in. But I wasn't mad at anybody before the lecture because they were ignorant, just like I used to be, just like we all used to be. I was giving everyone a chance. I got a little upset after the lecture, which is why I ended most of my lectures with that phrase, what's your excuse now? But everybody got the chance, but it started with arms crossed, and then arms opened up about 10 minutes in. I showed the slaughterhouse video, 15 minutes in, all of a sudden an arm goes up above the head, which is kind of a submissive position, but I wouldn't be submissive back. I go in for the kill. And now I'm hitting you with all the Holocaust stuff, the slavery analogies. And then I'm pushing people to the limit, but then I drop some humor because I patterned my activism after 2 people, my style after Malcolm X and George Carlin. I don't know if people know this. So basically my speech was a militant comedy roast. So as soon as I pushed them to the limit, I dropped some sarcastic humor, like, you guys have a bird ass fetish. Everything you eat has to come out of a hen's ass. You shove bread into a turkey's ass on Thanksgiving. Then they start giggling because there's truth in humor, right? And then I would tell them, you guys are squeezing cow titties and cow nipples.
Are these high school lectures?
Mostly college, but I did high schools. That, the younger I went, the more they really liked it. The problem was the administration, the teachers, and the parents didn't like it. Yeah. In fact, you want to hear something interesting that you bring up high schools? The best question I ever had never came from University of Michigan, Penn State, all the big schools, came from a 7th grader in Toledo, Aurora Academy. There was about 200 students that were brought down to the auditorium. And you know my style. You've seen my stuff. I have an answer. Before you're even done asking the question, I not only have one answer, I got 5 different answers depending on your tone. This kid says, Mr. Yourofsky, I believe everything you say. It all makes sense to me. And I want to become vegan. What happens today when I go home and my mom says I can't? And I was stumped. I'm like, oh my God, man. Ended up walking into the crowd. I gave him my business card. I said, here's my phone number. You could have your parents call me. I asked somebody for a pen, and I wrote down Dr. J.
Also wenn mir Leute auf der Stage sagen, passiert fast bei jeder Stage, sagt mir irgendwer, ich kann nicht vegan werden wegen meinen Eltern, dann sage ich immer, hol deine Eltern hier hin auf die Stage. Ich will die debattieren. Hat leider noch nie geklappt. Also könnten die Eltern das Handy nicht einfach in die Hand nehmen und mit mir sprechen.
About your health, Jerry wants to help. And then I ended up saying, I can't hold you accountable if your parents are going to prevent this, but do me a favor, as soon as you're able to, promise me that you're going to become vegan. And he promised. But that's when I realized, unless I was speaking to the parents, these kids were going to have a lot of problems. So I ended up switching to colleges where you don't need mommy and daddy's permission anymore. I lost a little along the way because the older you are, the further away you are from that connection to animals. I wish I can go younger. I actually did some 2nd grade classes who all thought they were already vegan because I explained how much I loved animals. And they said, oh, I love animals too, Mr. Gary. Yeah, I'm vegan too. I said, really? Everyone's vegan? They all said, yeah. They raised their hands. I said, did anybody see the movie Babe? They all said, yeah, I love Babe. Did anyone eat a hot dog recently? Yeah, I love hot dogs. I said, that's Babe. They were freaked out again. Lied to and not told the truth. I don't understand why it's wrong to tell the truth to kids and to people. The society is built on lies.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. There's been some young kids in my audience that, are around like, 10, 15 years old, and they've asked me the same question. My advice to them is don't listen to your parents. Like, your parents don't know better than you. I learned when I was a kid that my parents weren't mega geniuses who always knew right. Like, I knew they would do some things that are stupid and wrong, and I learned from a pretty young age to not always take my parents seriously. And, parents have limited willpower. If you, like, push back against them, eventually they're going to learn they can't win. So I told those kids, stand your ground. If your parents put steak on your plate, just don't eat it and say, I'll eat tofu and I'll eat potatoes, beans, but I'm not going to eat steak. And
Ja, die können dich nicht zwingen, was zu essen, was du nicht willst. Auch wenn die dir ja versuchen, das zu erzählen. Also die Leute, diese Jugendlichen oder so. Wenn deine Eltern dir ein Frauenbein servieren, wirst du das doch auch nicht essen, oder? Komischerweise würdest du dich da rausweaseln. Ja, genauso kannst du dich aus den Tierprodukten rausweaseln.
And, they might play that game where, okay, well, you get nothing. Well, they're not going to starve you to death. So you might have to wait like a few days, or if your parents are really brutal, like maybe a week, and you might have to go through some hunger, but you'll win. So just push back against them. It's not a big deal. And I mean, when they see the grocery bill, like tofu versus steak, like they're going to spend less money. So I've told, some of these kids, just push back.
That's some great advice, by the way. And I did tell that kid to beg and plead. I also told him, and I've told students that have emailed me over the years, you might have to get a job after school, cutting lawn, babysitting. And if you do, contact me. I'll tell you how to buy cheap food. Bananas are...
Ja, aber das ist alles anstrengend. Das wollen die alles nicht machen, Leute. Wenn die Leute schon ein Problem damit haben, im Supermarkt daneben zu greifen, ja, du hast hier das hier und hier ist die normale Milch und du hast ein Problem damit, ja, und dann sollen die Leute arbeiten gehen, damit die ihr eigenes Essen kaufen können. Das glaubst du wohl selber nicht.
About 25 cents a pop.
Yeah.
5 bananas make a meal. Buy a bag of potatoes, a bag of apples, a bag of carrots, big bag of grains or something. So I would always try to help them, but I got...
Ja, ich frage mich immer, die Leute, die dann sagen, ja, meine Eltern erlauben mir das nicht. Und ich frage die, ja, kannst du deine Eltern herholen? Ich debattiere deine Eltern und widerlege deine Eltern vor deinen Augen. Ja, warum machen die das nicht? Warum trauen die sich das nicht? So, ja, man kann Eltern exposen.
tell you, it was heartbreaking sometimes.
Glaubst du, deine Eltern können verteidigen, Tiere zu essen? Deine Eltern werden schlechter argumentieren als du. Ich sage immer noch, in allen hunderten Debatten, die ich gehalten habe in meinem Leben, die schwersten Gegner, die ich je hatte, waren unter 18 Jahre alt. Alle. Je älter die Person ist, umso dümmer, kann man sagen, ist es. Ja, aber Tiere essen doch auch Tiere. So, das hört man dann von Eltern. Also.
The kids would send me.
Und wenn du die Eltern widerlegst, die erlauben dem Kind nicht vegan zu sein, gehen ans Telefon, werden völlig platt gemacht in der Debatte, das Moralsystem zerfliegt, die können nicht verteidigen, Tiere zu essen, ja. Dann überlegst du ja nochmal, ob du deine Kinder davon abhalten willst, moralisch richtig zu sein.
Emails and then beg me, help me, I'm crying right now, my parents won't buy me any vegan food and they make me sit at the table till 3 in the morning until I finish my steak. I can't believe how cruel.
Ja, warum trauen die sich das nicht bei ihren Eltern? Die werden ja von mir widerlegt, die Eltern, nicht von dem.
Parents can be about this, considering all the horrible things these kids could be getting into.
Yeah.
Drugs, games, and they want to eat fruits and vegetables. I mean,
Yeah.
don't these parents spend that?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Ja, das ist so witzig, dass er das erwähnt. Die Eltern versuchen, die Eltern nicht ständig einen dazu zu kriegen, dass man Obst und Gemüse isst. Und wenn man sagt, man will nur Obst und Gemüse essen, sagen die, nee, du musst jetzt Leichen fressen. Du musst abgestochene und vergaste Tiere essen. Also alles falsch herum einfach bei den Eltern.
Yeah,
They spend
parents
the first few
usually
years trying
have
to force
to.
broccoli down
Yeah.
their throat, and then all of a sudden they want broccoli all the time. No, you gotta have steak now.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think it's a weird power dynamic. I don't think it's necessarily that they have a problem with their kids only eating vegetables. It's that they want to feel like they're in charge. It's like a weird, we're apes, right? Like
Right.
there's a pecking order, and I think it's a way of asserting dominance.
Man, that's a good point, Richard. That's a good point.
Humans are just kind of like stupid. I think most of the decisions we make are not really logical. It's weird evolutionary crap that's deep within our brain, and yeah, it's like a dominance thing for a lot of people. We got a
You
lot
just
of.
jogged my.
Oh wait, well, hold on to that thought. We got a lot of
Okay.
donations to go through.
Okay.
Yami, you donated $3. Most people only do the right thing when it's convenient for them. The second it becomes inconvenient, all of a sudden, their own self-proclaimed values become irrelevant. What ultimately ends up becoming relevant and paramount is convenience. How pathetic. Yeah.
Ja, das ist pathetic.
A lot of people, you know, you see it all the time with that.
Das sagt aber alles über eine Person aus, ne? Das sagt ja alles über eine Person aus. Wenn dir das jetzt so schwer ist, im Supermarkt daneben zu greifen, das sagt alles über dich als Menschen aus, was man wissen muss. Und für die es nicht so schwer ist, das sagt auch sehr viel über die aus.
You know, these ex-vegans, you know, they've made videos over years and years talking about how, you know, they love animals and everything. And then the reason they end up quitting, they give like the stupidest reasons. I know one guy who's a vegan activist, he quit recently. The guy who was involved with the Seaspiracy documentary, he said he was looking for vegan marshmallows and he had to drive like 2 or 3 hours. And he said, why am I driving like a couple hours for vegan marshmallows?
Das habe ich euch gerade gesagt, mit dem 1 Kilometer weitergehen. Here we go. Ja, Hellseher schon wieder.
Marshmallows, it's too difficult. And there's some...
Why would you drive for marshmallows?
Yeah, I know.
Who the fuck needs marshmallows?
Yeah, I know.
It's such a dumb, ridiculous excuse. There's an addict for you. He was an addict.
Und das hat der Typ von Seaspiracy gesagt. Ach du Scheiße, ey. Peitsch mich doch einfach aus, ehrlich.
And the addiction won.
I don't think it's an addiction. I think they wanted something out of veganism. I think some people go into the, you know, activism looking for money or fame, or like there's a lot of opportunity.
Ja, oder die machen das für eine Zeit lang, um gut dazustehen. Was für ekelhafte Person, ja. Und dann Veganismus aufgeben wegen Marshmallows. Der Weg ist zu weit. Ich kann nicht mehr.
Opportunity to get girls, especially like if you're a dude, and when they don't get it and they realize there's all these inconveniences, they just say fuck it, and then, you know, they didn't really have any values in the first place. You know?
Ja.
I ran into somebody at one of the AV demos the other day who was a fan of mine, a former vegan. Get this reason: I had a peanut allergy. So I said, so don't eat fucking peanuts. Well, how are there peanuts and fruits and vegetables and grains and lentils? What are you talking about? I can't even grasp this.
They're just
this
bullshitting.
excuse. And I got to tell you, over the year now, this is my 29th year of veganism this month.
What the fuck? Gary Yourofsky ist 29 Jahre vegan. Ich dachte, ich bin schon Terminator. Ich laufe auf 12. Jahr zu. 29, alter Schwede. Ich kann nur meinen Hut vor dir ziehen, ehrlich, das ist ja... Wie wurde der vegan? Ich weiß gar nicht, vielleicht erzählt er das noch.
29 years. I got a list of people that I despise the most. I swear the top of my list, ahead of hunters and vivisectionists and slaughterhouse workers and those who...
Okay, der sagt jetzt, welche Menschen der am allerschlimmsten findet, sogar schlimmer als Jäger und sowas.
Commit the most heinous acts.
Lass mich raten, sind es Vegetarier? Oder Ex-Veganer oder sowas?
Former vegans.
Yeah.
Ex-Veganer, here we go. Alter, ich muss mich umbenennen zu Nostradamus, ich schwör's dir. Das ist einfach nur zu unheimlich.
Top of my fucking list. How dare you know the truth?
Yeah.
Live the truth for a while.
Ja, Menschen, also Ex-Veganer, das ist, da fehlen mir einfach nur die Worte. Also, Ex-Vegan, das muss ja, du musst verstehen, Veganismus ist eine moralische Bewegung, ne? Also eine ethische Bewegung. Und wie kannst du das ändern? Du änderst deine Moral zurück wieder. Wait, what?
And then walk away from it. And on top of that, most of them try to convince other people not to do it. It's bad enough. You're not doing it.
Das ist auch ein Grund, warum ich so übelst Vegetarier hasse. Weil Vegetarier ganz genau in das Fass Tierleid schon reingeguckt haben. Und das schon gesehen haben. Und das verstanden haben und deswegen aufhören, Fleisch zu essen. Und dann alle anderen Tierprodukte essen. Und diese alle anderen Tierprodukte werden mit mehr Tierleid verursacht, als wenn die Fleisch essen würden. Also. Also für mich sind die allerschlimmsten von allen nicht Ex-Veganer, sondern Vegetarier. Die allerschlimmsten. Das ist.
Tell everyone else not to do it. You got to be kidding me. I don't know what to do with these people because how do you even talk to them? They know everything already. Now they're just lazy beyond belief. stubborn beyond belief and selfish beyond.
Ja, die sind lazy. Immer wenn es um dieses lazy geht, die sind ja lazy, steht bei denen über ihrer Moral. Das musst du dir mal vorstellen. Du musst mal vorstellen, was bei diesen Menschen im Kopf abgeht. Laziness steht über Moral. Die entscheiden nicht als erstes, ist es moralisch richtig, die entscheiden erstmal, bin ich zu faul, um was anderes zu machen? Ja, kaufen. Hackfleisch. Und dann kommt erst Moral. Aber die haben schon gekauft, also. Dicker.
Well, the reason they do that is they're trying to justify their own actions. So if they convince other people, they get validation. So yeah, they're just scum. They're absolute scum.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
I agree with
But thanks for the
wholeheartedly.
donation, Yami. Supreme Jewish Commander donated $3. Some more money. Gary is based as fuck. Absolutely. GK donated $5. Vegan for more than 10 years after watching Earthlings, but both of you being the biggest influences for me. Thank you for what you did and how you changed me. You made me proud of my choices to go vegan along the years. Well, thank you.
Ja, die Schlimmsten sind für mich Anti-Veganer. Ah, für mich nicht. Weil Anti-Veganer, das sind einfach nur logische Fehlschlüsse und so halt unendlich dumme Menschen und halt unendlich bösartige, schlechte Menschen. Aber die sind halt so die sind halt schon immer so. Aber als Vegetarier hast du ja die andere Seite gesehen. Verstehst du? Und dass du da dann weitermachst und sagst, okay, ich habe so viel Tierleid verursacht, jetzt verursache ich mal so viel Tierleid, esse aber kein Fleisch mehr.
GK. Grey Knight donated $5. Influencers
Also mit immer schon so, die waren nicht schon immer Anti-Veganer, sondern die waren schon immer im Kopf war sowas kaputt, dass sie irgendwann zu Anti-Veganern wurden. Also Anti-Veganer werden, das muss immer im Kopf durchgehen lassen, was das bedeutet. Anti-Veganer, Dicker. Du bist Anti-Sklavenhalter. Kannst du das in deinem Kopf verarbeiten, was das bedeutet? Du bist Anti-Vergewaltiger.
make you.
Du hast was dagegen, dass Menschen keine Tiere abstechen lassen. Das musst du dir mal geben.
Go just plant-based. Gary made me into an animal rights knight. Yeah, absolutely. We can talk about this more later, but there's a lot of not really vegan influencers. I think they claim to be vegan, but they're really just plant-based, and we can get into a whole thing about vegan cats that is just driving me
Oh ja, Vegan Cats. Bitte macht dieses Fass auf.
nuts. But
Und dann bitte Löwen erschießen.
we'll get into that later. I was actually planning on talking to you about that. Thanks, though, Green Knight. Supreme Jewish Commander donated $3. Let's burn this great relationship down. What does Gary think about Palestine and COVID packs?
Here we go.
Yeah.
Bitte nicht, bitte macht nicht das Palestine-Fass auf. Bitte nicht. Das ist so wie über Politik reden. Hey, welche politische Richtung hast du denn? Ja, genau. Wenn du da die falsche Antwort sagst, ja, dann weißt du, was dich erwartet, ne?
Well, you know.
Weil du musst die richtige Position sagen, ansonsten wirst du halt finanziell und privat halt ruiniert von den Guten.
Let's just keep it on, some animal rights stuff. But thanks, Supreme Jewish Commander.
Was nichts anderes bedeutet, dass diese Menschen faschistoide Diktatoren sind. Wie Hitler.
Zohar donated $15. Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Gary helped me become vegan more than 10 years ago. Thanks for coming to Israel. Yeah, you turned a lot of people vegan in Israel. I saw one of the interviews you did with a media outlet. I don't know what the fuck their problem was. They said Hitler was vegetarian or something, and then you had a big freak out. I remember that, and you got pissed, and I think you threw a mic. that was hilarious.
Der trinkt C4.
I think there was a guy.
Jetzt verstehe ich, warum das Ding 3 Stunden geht.
He was interviewing me. He shows up to a vegan restaurant in the biggest leather jacket I've ever seen in my life just to taunt me. He ends up calling me Hitler. And I said, I don't even understand the insult as I'm trying to save lives. And he was murdering beings. And then he just kept coming at me with Hitler. You would appreciate this. So with all my might, we're sitting down face to face. I go like this and boom. And I swear he flew back about 15 fucking feet in the chair. It was hysterical. Then I go up to go after him. And then 4 of my vegan friends down there go, Gary, no, don't do it. Meanwhile, it's front page news for the next 2 days.
I guess he found out that vegans aren't weak and he got some muscle. Yeah.
No. And my comment to the news was, oh my God, 2 guys in the Middle East had a disagreement at a fight. When has that ever happened before? Oh, how is this front page news?
Yeah.
They actually brought me down to the police station. He filed charges against me, and he also claimed that I said that I was going to threaten to rape his kids. Now, first of all, I don't even know what the guy's name is. That's how insignificant he is to me. Second of all, he's so disgusting, and I said this during a bunch of lectures. I can't believe there was a woman alive that would fuck him and procreate. I had no idea he had kids. He was a liar, a disgusting fucking freak. And I could have filed a claim. I told the police I could have filed charges, for him blaspheming me and defaming me. And they asked me why I didn't. I said, because I'm not a fucking baby. I said, so I had a disagreement and I pushed somebody. Big fucking deal. But Israel was fabulous, Richard. I mean, it was amazing. They were coming out in droves to hear the message when I first got there. Now, I wasn't involved in a
Ja, wenn du nach Israel gehst und über Veganismus dort sprichst mit den Leuten, hast du natürlich gewonnen, ne? Ist ja das veganste Land der Welt.
Changing the lectures. I had the Israeli people do it. I just said, set me up with non-vegans, just point me towards the stage and let me preach. So they picked me up at the airport, first lecture. They take me to a bar. I said, a bar? What do you mean a bar? He goes, we rented out a bar. I said, who the fuck's going to come to a bar to hear a lecture on veganism? I get to the bar. It is literally packed, 220 people. I had to inch my way through the crowd. Not only that, there were about 250, 300 people in the street that couldn't get in.
Jeez.
So they set up screens in the street.
Wow.
To project my lecture, and they stood in the street to watch it. I was selling out 500, 800 seat movie theaters. They were thirsting for this, and the media reported that I converted anywhere from 5 to maybe 10% of their population.
That's crazy.
After all the years in the trenches. It was so nice to see something positive on the way out because I knew I was fading. I was getting stressed. I just couldn't believe that I didn't hear, fuck you, get a life. I heard, oh my God, there's the vegan guy. There's the vegan dude. And they would stop their cars on the street and jump out of the car just to take a picture with me when I was walking from the hotel to the gym. It was crazy. It was wonderful. The most vegan-friendly place on this planet right now.
Yeah. I know the IDF, they have to give vegan meals to all their soldiers and everything now. It's great.
It was an amazing experience. I got to tell you, and as wonderful as it was, I'm never satisfied. They also took me to a restaurant. It was the second or third night. It was their fanciest restaurant. I converted the owner, so she made her restaurant vegan. So it was a private event with 300 people. I show up, I make my rounds, take pictures, shake everyone's hand. I'm sitting in the corner, and I asked a couple people, I said, you telling me I converted everyone in this room? And everyone's like, yeah, they're all Gary vegans.
Wow.
I said, wait a second. And I looked around, tried to absorb it, and I said, but it doesn't mean anything to me. Like, I don't want the adoration. I want more vegans. It's not enough. So it was never enough. And it still isn't enough. As many people as I've turned, and I know you understand this, it's great to make those conversions, but it's not enough because the animals are still suffering and dying. But Israel, again, it was an amazing experience. And people should support Israel just for that alone. The most vegan-friendly place on the planet, and people want to condemn them?
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah.
Get out.
Axel donated $3. Gary helped me go vegan, and Richard was a big part of the reason I went vegan. I am now starting to stream Discord vegan debates, but I'm trying to do activism full time.
Oh, der streamt Discord Vegan Debates. Here we go. Ja, da hat jemand mein Video geguckt, mein vorletztes. Das ist die wichtigste Sache der Welt, Debatten.
Love you both. Richard, thank you so much for the active mentorship. Well, thank you, Axel. Yeah, like literally half the people I've met, I swear, went vegan because of you, or combination of you, me, something like that. Emmanuel donated $3. You and Gary both turned me vegan back in high school. So good to see you, both you legends, talking. If you're accepting questions, what would you recommend for promoting veganism in a pretty redneck place, the prairies, where there is no other vegans?
I got to tell you, man, the truth always works. And I want people to know I didn't go. I spent a lot of my time in rural America, and they were wonderful. If I could have lectured in Texas year round, I would have done it. Those people are more open-minded than you think. In fact, I found the ultra-left people to be the most closed-minded because they were recycling already. And they had a coexist bumper sticker on their car. And they were like, oh, I'm already doing enough. Gary, I recycle. I have to care about cows. Yes, you have to care about cows and pigs and chickens.
Also mich wundert das nicht.
Republicans. It's not enough. The majority of my Jerry Springer shows happen with the left-leaning crowd. The right-wingers were fair because I knew where they stood. They let me know. And when I came in the classroom, it was like, well, prove your case to me. Good. I want to prove my case. Thank you for giving me the chance. And when I finished, most of them came up and said, man, that's the best speech I ever heard. I never understood veganism before. Now I do. I'm becoming vegan. And I wasn't in Austin, Texas. I was at Wichita Falls,
Ach, das ist ja interessant.
Texas. I was in small rural America, Halifax County Community College. Here's a funny story. I show up there the first time. Everyone's decked out in camouflage. Just before they bring me on, I lean over to the professor. I said, man, they came to fuck with me.
Oh, your mic.
Camouflage.
Sorry, your mic cut out for a second.
Okay, you still?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. So I leaned over to the professor and I said, these people came to mess with me. They're all decked out in camouflage. He said, no, welcome to Halifax County Community College. This is how they dress. And they were so wonderful to me. And I went there for 6, 7, 8 years. I had 3, 4, 5 professors bringing me in. And I asked them once, how come they really just love me so much and they listen? They said they couldn't believe that I would actually come to their small school and talk to them. Everyone else is going to all the big schools and all the Ivy League schools and Harvard, Cornell, and Penn State. And here I am going to speak to Halifax County Community College. They were great. And listen, I don't care what group of people you're speaking to, the truth works. And don't be a politician. That's why the professors love me the most. They would say, Gary, we never met anybody so open and willing to talk about how they feel about every issue. We never met a real activist in our lives. We only read about them. This is amazing. So you'd be surprised. Don't play games. Speak the truth, and the truth shall set everybody free, especially the animals. And for the people that it doesn't work with, nothing would have worked. Don't blame yourself. I had to figure that out over the years when people would yell and scream. I said, you know what? It's not me. It's them. They came with a closed mind. They didn't want to listen. They had preconceived notions. They never gave me a chance. So don't let that discourage you too much. It is discouraging. It did upset me when I saw the real face of humans, that evil nature. I had a student in Miami-Dade College after I poured my heart out for a 70-minute lecture. He raises his hand. He's the only one. I knew it was going to be bad. I had to call on him. I said, yeah. He says, I wish nothing but violence and death to the animals. I said, well, I hope all that violence and death returns to you and your family tenfold. He stood up and he said, fuck you, and he ran out of the room like a baby that he was. I'm like, well, why? He can give it, but he can't take it?
Yeah.
Did he think that...
Ja, schlechter Mensch. Was erwartest du? Und auch noch eine Heulsuse dazu, das ist eine Kombo.
He got the kinder, gentler vegan? I mean, listen, I will fight for the animals like I would want to be fought for if I were in their position. So to me, sometimes you got to bully a bully as well. And I didn't want to. That was not my goal. But what else are you going to say? I tried to be peaceful. I tried to explain it during the lecture. But there was nothing that was going to reach him. But I knew it was him and not me.
Was willst du zu Menschen sagen, die sagen, ich will, dass Tiere leiden? Das ist der Abschaum der Gesellschaft. Was willst du mit dem noch machen? Genau deswegen muss es Gesetze geben, die Tierprodukte verbieten.
Because everybody else said, hey, I heard you, Gary. I listened. And half the class, which was probably par for the course, half the class said that they were going to become vegans.
Yeah, that's kind of surprising that a lot of right wingers would, and like, you know, guys who go out hunting would, you know, be pretty receptive. So yeah, like you got to try at the very least. I don't know what the prairies are kind of like culturally, but you know, at least try. You might be surprised. And
the hunters would end up telling me something like this. I never understood it before. I'm not saying I'm going to change, but now I understand why you guys fight like you do. So that is a seed that's still planted. Yeah. And it's amazing that the radical vegan could be shaking hands with the animal killing hunter after a lecture and him saying, man, that was a great lecture. I got to give it to you. I now understand why you guys do it. But I did have some hunters rip up their hunting and fishing licenses over the years. Some amazing conversions. San Diego State, real quick. I had 4 students hang out after class. And when I didn't have anywhere else to go, I would stay there for hours if they wanted me. That day I had another lecture in 20 minutes. So 3 people are asking questions. One guy's just kind of leaning against the wall. And I said, guys, I got about 7 minutes to get across campus for another lecture. And I turned to the guy, do you have something to say? He reaches in his wallet, takes out his hunting and fishing licenses and tears them up and touches his heart and says, man, you touched me right here. I still have those licenses ripped up, by the way, in a box at home somewhere. Cool. I had some amazing conversions. University of Colorado Boulder, maybe my best one. I had about 800 students show up, and I stayed after for a couple hours. As it's winding down, there's about 3 or 4 people left. Some guy walks up to the stage, takes off his shoes and his belt. I have a picture of this, and he holds them up and he drops them on the stage and he goes like this. turns around and leaves. Now, my first comment was, it was January in Boulder. I said, is that guy walking home in 2 feet of snow? Oh my God, with those shoes on? I mean, I talked somebody out of their shoes once.
Lass mich raten, weil es Leder war.
You'd be surprised if you speak the truth, what could actually happen and how many people are actually listening.
Yeah. Yeah, so just go for it, try.
Hat das gerade jemand verstanden? Warum hat er seine Schuhe und Gürtel ausgezogen? Der hat nicht gesagt, warum er das gemacht hat.
Regardless of who you're talking to. Joanna F. donated $5, didn't say anything, but thanks for the donation. Greg the
Mit politischem Content kannst du aber Geld machen, ja, übelst. Übelst kannst du damit, das klickt sich übelst gut. Vor allem, wenn du dich gegen den Mainstream stellst, was man tun sollte, kann man fast nur erfolgreich werden. Aber ja, von der anderen Seite wirst du halt dann zerstört.
Vegan donated $3, 2 vegan legends. Appreciate that, Greg. Black Pill Vegan donated $15.
Habe ich das nicht verstanden mit der Gürtelgeschichte, um ehrlich zu sein.
I'm just gonna skip that. It's just another troll. Alan donated $11. Thank you, Gary. Almost 9 years vegan for me and never going back. Well, thank you, Alan. Gigliardo donated $3. Both of you guys have changed my life. Richard, your artwork is so beautiful. It brings tears to my eye. People pay me to do really stupid drawings. It's a bit of a joke, but thanks for the donation, Gigliardo. Axel donated $3. Gary, what are your thoughts on people who preach about atrocities and wars, etc., but are not vegan?
Well, they're the biggest hypocrites on the planet, which is why I can't stand the human rights crowd. They're demanding life, liberty, and happiness, yet they refuse to give it to somebody else who absolutely needs it and who's being treated worse than they are. So that stuff has to completely stop. And this is why I have stopped speaking out on behalf of human rights causes. I'm tired of being in an abusive relationship with the human rights movement. Now, mind you, I started out including human rights stuff. I would use in my speech racism, sexism, heterosexism analogies to explain this, but over the years I realized they were never giving it back to us.
Yeah.
So why do we have to acquiesce to them? And what they're basically saying, I'll break it down in a simple form. They're saying, well, we'll get to the animals later.
Ja, ne, dass das Leder war wahrscheinlich, meinte der damit. Aber komisch, warum hat er das nicht gesagt? Könnte man wenigstens in einem Satz erwähnen.
Let's take care of the gays and the trans and the blacks and everybody right now. What I'm saying is, no. Fuck them. We're going to start with the cows, the pigs, the chickens, and the turkeys, and then we'll get to you guys later. So understand, too, that I get why people deserve equal rights. I'm just tired of...
Ja, aber ich mag Gary Yourofsky übelst. Der ist genauso wie früher. Der ist ganz genauso gleich geblieben. Ich mag den voll, ey.
Humans being put first and everybody worshiping at the altar of humanity when we are the biggest scourge to this planet. We're the biggest scums that have ever existed on this planet. Let's go and save the herbivore animals, by the way, the only ones living in complete peace. You notice too, the animals that we pick on the most, that we...
Ja, die herbivoren Tiere, die in Peace leben, genau. Genau die Tiere, die in Peace leben, die in Frieden leben, genau die Tiere züchten wir ins Leben, um sie zu vergasen und abzustechen. Junge.
Use the most are the ones that have achieved peacefulness. And it's amazing to me that people just want to push them aside. You can think about it this way, too. If we ever got together at this big table of peace and they brought representatives from the gay rights movement, black rights, women's rights, and animal rights, there would be violations taking place on behalf of the animals. People could show up to this table wearing leather shoes, cowskin shoes. If the discussion went long enough, they could actually bring a hamburger too. But if you sat at that table and said gay people don't deserve the right to get married, you'd be kicked out. If you stood there and said black people don't deserve the same jobs that white people have, you'd be kicked out. But you can say cows don't matter, chickens don't matter, turkeys don't matter, kill them, steal their babies, mutilate them. And this is why the human rights crowd is full of shit. And
Ich liebe diesen Typen, ey.
Tired of not calling them out on it. I'm calling
Das ist so ein krasser Redner, dieser Typ. Das ist unfassbar, Mann.
them out. If you want life, liberty, and happiness, and you want others like me to speak up for you, start giving it out. Then maybe we'll come around, but not anymore. No more abusive relationships for me.
Yeah, I was planning on discussing with you issues within vegan activism, and like there's this big left wing social justice warrior crowd. I'm gonna get into more detail about that, but none of the people who are involved in vegan activism who are part of that left wing social.
Die haben in Amerika Probleme im veganen Aktivismus mit Linken. Okay, das kommt mir irgendwie sehr bekannt vor. What the fuck? Die haben das sogar in Amerika?
justice, they don't really care about animals. I think it's actually infiltration of communist
Wie war das? Die sind gar nicht für die Tiere, sagst du da? Das kommt mir irgendwie sehr bekannt vor.
justice. They don't really care about animals.
Das ist, ich sag ja, der englischsprachige Bereich ist irgendwie eine Kopie vom deutschen Bereich, einfach nur andere Sprache. Die haben da dieselben Probleme?
I think it's actually infiltration of communist ideology and stuff like that. But we can get into that in more detail in a bit. Wolf D donated $3. Why do you eat tofu and recommend it to others for building muscle instead of soy chunks? They have much more protein, thanks. Well, tofu is just easier to make. So it's easier to make taste good too. You can just fry it in a pan, add sauce with soy chunks. You need to like boil it, drain it. You might want to like drain it a few times to get rid of like this weedy taste to it. And then if you don't do it right, it can have like a weird spongy texture. So I just usually recommend tofu. Just because
And by
it's
the
so
way,
easy.
feel free to eat whatever.
Yeah, and you can eat whatever you
source
want. Yeah.
Nobody cares as
Yeah.
long as it's vegan. I don't care what you eat. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to make some easy recommendations, just like you are.
Yeah, but thanks for the donation, Wolf. Propitious Vegetation donated $10. Appreciate you both. I make vegan-themed death metal and have you both to credit for years of education and information. Best of luck with Sasha Farm. Well, thank you. Appreciate the donation. Benjamin donated $30. Hi, Gary. So glad you're back. You were a huge inspiration for me going vegan 7 years ago. Well, thank you, Benjamin. Really appreciate that. Benny donated $10. Hey, Gary, will you be at the Clone Cubes every day this month? I'm planning to join from Sunday to Tuesday. Really looking forward to meet you and fight for the animals with you. You're my hero.
I'm going to be there every day. Some days I'm going to be late, like today, because I'm doing interviews and podcasts, but I'll be there for a minimum of 1 hour each day and maybe up to 6 hours, depending on all the podcasts. So yeah, I'm here for the month. And I'm also going to Amsterdam from August 2nd through the 10th for the AV demos as well. So maybe check me out over there too.
All right, dope.
Feels good to be back in action, man. I've been dead for about 10 years, so this.
Okay, der war nicht 5 Jahre weg, der war 10 Jahre weg. Ach du Elend.
I've been awakened.
Yeah, great.
Aber der ist anscheinend wieder komplett zurück. Komplett wie früher. Krass.
Yeah, I'd love to see you do
Ein Riesengewinn für den Veganismus.
more stuff. And like honestly, I think we need some more people like you just getting into activism and creating a social sort of change. And like that's a good segue into the topic I wanted to discuss. Like weird infighting within veganism, and particularly the left-wing social justice warriors that try to include, the human rights stuff. Like you have to support Black Lives Matter, you have to support gay and trans rights. Man, I've had so many issues when I was in Toronto doing activism because all the activist groups, they were mostly being led by women who got indoctrinated into this intersectional feminist ideology. Before every event, they do land acknowledgement, like this land was stolen from native people, and we want to acknowledge that this was once part of the Ojibwe clan or something. And it's like, are we advocating for animals? Why are we mentioning this when we're here to talk about animal rights? And then you're talking about Native American people, and then like non-vegans in the crowd are like, the fuck? And I refuse to support Black Lives Matter, including when that whole George Floyd thing happened, because I just noticed there's massive corruption within the Black Lives Matter movement. And sure enough, it came out that the founder embezzled like $5 million or something, and then bought a mansion. And I didn't like a lot of what they were doing. They were actually standing up for a lot of criminals, like just straight up criminals. There was a guy who literally just robbed a convenience store, tried to kill a cop. He got shot, rightfully so. And then they were rioting in the street over that guy. It was ridiculous. I think it was totally fine to protest over George Floyd, but it got to a point where they like memorialized the guy and acted as if he was a hero. By all accounts, the guy was a terrible person. Like what they really should have been doing was just talking about how terrible the policing was and how, there's a lot of racism within the police force, but George Floyd is by no means a hero. So I refuse to support Black Lives Matter, and a lot of them tried to push me out of activism because of that. And one of the worst people I ever came across was this dipshit named Darren Chang. He claimed to be a vegan activist, but I found a podcast he did on some left-wing, literally communist kind of podcast that he had, where he said he was against banning the seal hunt in Canada because it promotes white colonialism and...
Dicker. Oh mein Gott, diese Menschen, ey.
These people should have a right to self-determination.
Warte mal, wie hat Gary?
And these people should have a right to self-determination. So you make a good point. There's a lot of people who are in this like human rights space who don't give two fucking shits about animals. And like it's insanely hypocritical. For one thing, like, yeah, if you said...
Deswegen soll man nicht gegen die Ermordung von diesen Tieren protestieren. Zieht euch das mal rein.
Black people shouldn't be able to have jobs, trans people...
Ja, es ist in Amerika genauso wie bei uns.
People don't exist, they'd kick you out immediately. But if you show up in leather or chowing down on like a ham and cheese sandwich, oh, whatever. Like who cares? None of these...
So much to unpack with what you just said too, man. It's first of all, no group of people has a right to view animals as their property, to exploit them. I don't care what native clan you belong to. I don't care where you live. Animals are their own separate entities, and they belong to nobody. So that's a bunch of fucking shit. That the seal hunt shouldn't be banned. And by the way, they're killing seals for their penises because humans are so fucking pathetic. They think that they're going to eat somebody else's penis and become stronger. And back to the women and the land stuff. Let me just throw this out there for everybody. All land on this planet belong to the animals. We are all thieves. Spare me the shit about it belongs to some native culture or this tribe or whatever. It belonged to the animals and we stole it from them. We're guests on their property and we're horrible, pathetic guests at that. We're always kicking them out, killing them, calling them pests. We're the biggest pest on this planet by far. And the BLM movement too. I found this to be pathetic when they were holding up the pig's head, separate pig's head, or the fact that they even call police pigs. What kind of fucking shit is that? Yeah. I never met a pig that went and shot somebody and killed somebody for no reason. Those aren't pigs. Those are humans. That's human behavior. I'm really tired of people deflecting disgusting human behavior and claiming that it's animal behavior. No, this is how humans are. We're the rapists. We're the oppressors. We're the killers, not the pigs. And then I heard something else too, where they said George Floyd was killed like a dog in the street.
Also den Teil mit dem Land, dass wir den Tieren das Land wegnehmen, da stimme ich dem nicht zu. Also, of course, trivialerweise nehmen wir denen das Land weg, nur Tiere verstehen keine Property Rights. Von daher, ich glaube, an diesem Punkt hat er nicht so ganz verstanden. Das hört sich so an, als sollten wir den Tieren das Land zurückgeben oder sowas. Wenn du den Tieren das Land zurückgibst, steigt das Leid auf der Welt.
Big on language. So what they're saying is they had to find somebody else, another group that was treated worse than they were. They exposed it. Guess what? The animals, because that's the only way the analogy works. Yeah. So they actually admitted that animals got it way worse than them, but
then when you bring up animals are treated worse, how could you say that? But then they use that as an example. Like I don't know if you probably... I don't know how involved you are with some of the crap going on, but I remember Anonymous for the Voiceless, they made a post about some of these like Black Lives Matter, George Floyd protesters. They were holding up pigs' heads in the protest, and they called out the hypocrisy. All of these lefty, human rights activists, trashed Anonymous for the Voiceless, said they wouldn't support them and all this crap, threatening them to take the post down because, oh, you're attacking the Black Lives Matter protests. You're not allowed to do that. What it is, all these left-wingers, it's communist infiltration into this left-wing sphere. And none of these people have any interest in animal rights. What they're trying to do is recruit members into communism. So that's why this intersectionalist thing has, become so popular. If you try to convince all these people, oh, our struggle is your struggle, well, now you've massively increased, the recruitment. Because if you can convince Black Lives Matter or gay and trans rights activists or native, people into thinking, oh, your struggle is your struggle, well, now you've got more communists in your group. You'll see every single time, you mentioned it. Like, if any of these people ever go against Black Lives Matter or, black rights or trans rights, you're immediately kicked out. If you ever criticize them for, eating meat and supporting that atrocity, they'll just shame you. Oh, you're trying to bring down the trans rights movement.
Ja, das ist so wie, ja, genau das gleiche, was wir haben. Wie ich immer erzähle, geh mal auf einen Feministinnen-Server und erzähl dort, ey, was macht ihr dort mit den Kühen? Kühe sind ja weiblich. Wofür bezahlt ihr da? Boom, Permaban. Ohne einen Satz zu sagen.
Or the Black Lives Matter, they'll just shame you. Oh, you're trying to bring down the trans rights movement or the Black Lives Matter movement. They don't care. None of them care. And all of these people need to stop pandering to these crazy group of
Ja, stell dir mal vor, das ist, wenn man mit Logik ankommt, dann, da ist alles vorbei.
communist wackos. They're not interested in veganism. They're interested in supporting some bizarre communist revolution. That's all they're trying to do.
They're really a mean, nasty crowd too.
Yeah.
When I was in Frankfurt last month doing a fundraiser for Sasha Farm, they were trying to get it canceled. They wanted to interrupt it. Now, here's what I don't
Gary wollte hier in Deutschland in Frankfurt Aktivismus machen. Die Linken haben versucht, das zu unterbinden. Okay.
fundraiser for Sasha Farm, they were trying to get it canceled. They wanted to interrupt it. Now, here's what I don't understand. If the fundraiser was for me,
Yeah.
the money was going to me, I could actually understand. All right, you don't like me, whatever. You don't like what I said. The money was going
Weil Gary gehört zu den Bösen. Ah, I see.
into an animal sanctuary. Why would you mess up that? Why don't you donate the money and then say, you know what, Gary sucks, by the way, I don't like him. Okay, whatever. Just
Yeah.
make the $119 donation so we can send it over to the sanctuary that needs it. But they don't care about the animals. Like you said, they place humans first. And keep in mind, too, every time we talk about humans, animals don't get talked about. And they rarely get talked about as it is. This is why I also refuse to spend my time talking about human rights and all the atrocities going on around this planet. Because then I don't talk about cows on dairy farms having their babies stolen from them, which to me is the worst atrocity going on right now, or male chicks in the egg industry being ground up alive because they don't lay eggs, or hens having their beaks seared off, all the mutilations taking place. And this is why, now listen, the human rights people got this right. I know why they don't talk about animals, because then they don't talk about gays in Uganda being imprisoned and killed. Then they don't talk about the genocide in Darfur. Then they don't talk about BLM and women's rights. They're doing it right, and we are not actually following them in that regard, where we should just be talking about our issue. The most abused, the most oppressed, the most raped, the most killed beings on this planet are not two-legged creatures. They're not human beings. They're animals by the meat, dairy, and egg industry. This is where the abuse is taking place. In America, I believe 25 million animals every day are killed just
Super spannendes Gespräch, ey.
by the meat, dairy, and egg industry. If you add up all the animals in 1 year on this planet, that's more than all humans throughout history who have been oppressed and killed. This is the injustice. And I think I talked about this during some of those Israeli interviews, where if you really wanted to end human oppression, you got to start by destroying speciesism, because that's the root of all hatred. This is where it starts. If you teach a child to be nice to a chicken, a mouse, a spider, how's the child going to grow up and hate somebody else that doesn't look and act like
Yeah,
they
it's
are?
tribalism. Yeah.
Right. This is where it starts, man. So they're everything they do is backwards. The human rights people are backwards in everything they do. If they really wanted to advance those causes, start by convincing people to become vegan and respect chickens. This is where it starts.
Yeah, but it would really be great if you got kind of back into activism. You don't necessarily have to be, super involved in social media or anything like me, but there needs to be more people without political ideology mixed in, and particularly, this left-wing communist ideology. I really don't care if somebody's a bit more right-wing and just wants to, vote for Trump because gun rights or something. But the communist ideology that's infected this left wing, it is crazy, and it's designed in a way where it's designed to take over every single movement. That's what's unique about it. If we have more conservatives getting involved in vegan activism, nothing's going to happen really, because they're just conservative. They want lower taxes. They want to get rid of free healthcare, because why should I pay for somebody else's healthcare or something stupid like that? They want guns, but it's not like this weird ploy to get everyone involved into this one big monolith where again, it's just designed to suck everybody in to get attention on like one specific issue that they really care about. So it would be great if there's like, I think it's great to have more men in the movement too, for a variety of reasons. There's an overrepresentation of women, for one thing. And I think it is good to have more male voices, just because if you're doing activism and there's a lot of men who are listening to a group of women talking about feelings and stuff, I think it is useful, in terms of reaching out to certain people, to have male voices where, men can connect with other men a bit more. And on top of that, like, it is the case. A lot of women are huge users of TikTok. They get sucked into, the communist propaganda on TikTok, and they're way more prone to adopting this intersectional feminism bullshit. Whereas if there's more men in the movement who don't have like these sort of political ideologies that can just fuck everything up, it kind of creates a safeguard where you don't have this overrepresentation of crazy nut jobs, talking about land acknowledgements before, these activism events. And then rather than actually doing vegan activism, it's all about Black Lives Matter and all this bullshit. So I'd love to see more men like you who don't really care about these human rights issues, just care about animals, just getting into activism. And I think it would be good, like, at least for the culture of vegan activism, for you to, kind of get back into it and kind of recenter everybody.
I want to get more involved. I do. I just want you to know the social media world is foreign to me right now.
Yeah.
These guys down here just set up a brand new Instagram account for me, Real Gary Yourofsky. By the way, there's also one, The Real Gary Yourofsky, which is also me, but I don't remember my password. I can't get on it. So now it's Real Gary Yourofsky.
Okay.
Vielleicht kann hier mal ein Mod sein Instagram, seinen richtigen reinschicken.
Check it out. I'm going to try to get more involved. They're going to try to show me how to navigate the online world. I'm saying yes to every podcast request that I get. So I do want to talk more. I do want to encourage people more that you don't have to pander to the human
Folgt dem auf Instagram.
rights people, to
Yeah,
the leftists, to the
don't give
leftist
in.
communists. Yeah, speak up for the animals only. And keep this in mind when it comes to at least me, and I think I'm going to speak for you too. I didn't sign up. We didn't sign up to be human rights activists.
Yeah.
Da im Chat.
Why the fuck are you forcing us to do something that we never agreed to? I made a promise to an elephant, 1993, at the Shrine Circus.
Warte mal, ich folge den. Kann mich jemand mit diesem Link da pingen? Ich folgte mit meinem Instagram-Account, obwohl ich da eigentlich niemandem folgen will, außer Carnism Debunked. Bei dem folge ich auch noch.
That I would give my life for her. That was my promise. And then I, started thinking about the other animals. I said, I'm going to give my life for you and tell everybody about what you're going through. And I think you made the same commitment. Why are you making me do something I don't want to do? And on top of that, why do you have to agree with me 100% of the time anyways? What's this nonsense that if we disagree with somebody on one issue, all of a sudden we have to condemn them, cancel them?
Mein Instagram ist inaktiv, das bringt nichts, aber ja, normalerweise wollte ich niemandem da folgen auf Instagram.
Can't be their friends anymore. I mean, who in the world do you actually agree with 100% of the time? Because if you tell me that you do, I'm going to call you a liar, or I'm going to call the other person that lied to you, that made you think that, a liar. You can't. Even your partner in life, you can't agree all the time. So why can't you say, oh, you know what? I don't care for Gary's position on human rights. I don't care for Richard's position, but man, they are some kick-ass vegan.
Ich darf hier auf keinen Fall das Video schließen oder sowas, auf eine andere Seite gehen. Wenn gleich diese YouTube-Meldung kommt, da ist alles vorbei. Ich kann keine Videos mehr gucken auf YouTube auf meinem Twitch-Browser, also Opera, auf dem ich immer die Videos gucke. Kein einziges Video mehr. Habe ich am Anfang erzählt.
Activists, and they speak for the animals so wonderfully. They turn people vegan and make the world a better place for the animals. That's what we want to do. Don't make us do something we don't want to do. It's nonsense. But the leftists love that. You have to do this.
It's a purity test. It's
a
purity test, and they're just trying to radicalize you. But it's like we mentioned before, like, there's peer pressure. Your parents are going to try to, force you to eat a certain way. Your friend group is going to peer pressure you. It's the same kind of mindset. Like, be a leader. Don't let them force you into adopting some weird intersectional ideology where you have to make posts about Black Lives Matter. You have to, support trans, gay rights and all this stuff and have a rainbow flag every June on your profile. Just focus on the animals. And if they have a problem with it, then, they can whine and complain and call you names on social media, call you a bigot, but just focus on the animals. That's all you got to do. And
that's all they seem to do, by the way, is whine and complain.
That's all they really can do. And,
they're experts at that.
Yeah, and...
Oh mein Gott, Alter, diese zwei, die sind einfach nur zu gut. Das will ich nochmal hören, von Gary. aus Scarys Mund.
media call you a bigot, but just focus on the animals. That's all you got to do. And
That's all they seem to do, by the way, is whine and complain.
Oh mein Gott, ey, was für ein Gold, ey. Geilstes Interview ever.
Yeah, that's all they really can do. And
We're experts at that.
yeah, and they're especially targeting. That's all you got to do. And
that's all they seem to do, by the way, is whine and complain.
Yeah, that's all they really can do. And
we're experts at that.
yeah, and
die sind Experten da. Ja.
They're especially targeting white males, which is retarded because they live in a country where the majority of the population's white and half of them are male. So yeah, like, don't let them, you know.
Genau, der Großteil Männer, der Großteil weiß, und deswegen ist man natürlich dagegen, weil das ist der neue Feind.
Don't let them force the communism, social justice warrior bullshit on you. Just focus on the animals. And
by the way,
yeah,
if Hamas and the Iranian regime and radical Muslim regimes ever got a hold of a nuclear weapon and they dropped it on the great Satan that is America and their neighbor Canada, do you think the bomb's going to exclude you, leftist?
Yeah.
I mean, what are you fighting for? My God, these people want to kill everybody that doesn't believe what they believe. The radical Muslims are out of their minds right now, man, and they're the worst violators of human rights. I don't even get the support that people want to throw their way.
Yeah. And again, I think it's the communist brainwashing. It's part of their whole strategy to try to make friends with some of the most violent groups, because you need violent people to enact a revolution. So I think that's why they're trying to make bedfellows with these violent Islamic regimes. It's part of that strategy of trying to get violent people into this whole, like, you know, communist thing, so that they can enact this revolution, destroy the, like, United States, destroy capitalism, because, you know, like, they're all they can do is complain and whine online. So they need people who will.
Yeah, it's correct. What's this hostage taking bullshit, by the way? This could be over if they would just release the last 53 hostages. Yep. I got news for you. Everybody think about this. Do you know who takes hostages on this planet? Domestic abusers, bank robbers, drug cartels, and Hamas and all the radical Muslims. Yeah. What kind of shit is that? Because let me throw this out there. Let's say I decided to go ballistic and I wanted to take hostages to free the animals. And I took the wives of hunters hostages. I took the husbands and wives of vivisectionists.
Nobody would be defending you. No one.
But listen, all they would have to do is shoot one animal in the head, one rat in the head. And I'd say, wait, okay, stop. Because that's how much I care about animals. I'd say, okay, I'm coming out with my hands up. These people are still holding hostages, claiming they care about Palestinians, and they're getting killed. But all they got to do is stop. And what did they think was going to happen on October 7th when they went and killed 1,200 people?
Well, they knew it.
Then they want to call a timeout? Could you imagine me going up to you or The Rock and slapping you in the face and then go, wait, timeout? Bullshit, you're going to get your ass kicked. Who are you fucking with? You're messing with somebody stronger than you, bigger than you, and better than you, but you think you have a right to do that and then call timeout, wait, for us? Come on, everybody. This melts my brain that people are just thinking side of this.
Again, it's brainwashing, and people think completely backwards, and these aren't people you should take seriously. Don't let them, like, take control of vegan activism. The pro-Palestine supporters are just nuts.
And keep in mind, too, unless you're in Israel or Palestine, your voice doesn't even mean a fucking thing. But you know what your voice means something for? Veganism. Because this is why I also love this movement. You could actually do something about injustice every single day of your life. Everything else is lip service. So what about the Darfur genocide? What about the Ugandan gays? What about Israel and Palestine? Who cares? No, but they don't give a fuck what you think. They don't care about your opinion. But the animals do, because you can affect somebody's life and save their lives. Focus on the animals and vegan living, vegan activism. This is where it's at. You want to make change, substantive change, preach veganism and forget about everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we got a bunch of new donos. Axel donated $3, got a new argument against the idiot religious people who say they can't go vegan because of their religion. I'll say you're right, because religious people like yourself don't listen to reason. Conversation over. Maybe that'll change their mentality. They're probably just going to go on about their day. The religious, some of them, I think just say that because they haven't really thought enough about their religious beliefs. I've had some conversations with Muslims and Christians who say, but God says it's okay. And then I'll go in, I don't even really go into their religious beliefs at all, because I see, the kind of vegan ideology as non-religious. It has nothing to do. It's secular. So I just make the secular arguments. And sometimes they'll listen to the secular arguments and say, yeah, that's a good point. Like, if I'm using religion to justify this, then I could also use religion to justify any other horrible atrocity, like, some kind of genocide.
Ja, einfach der kürzeste Weg gegen religiöse Leute Reductio laufen lassen.
So it doesn't really make any sense. But
And people have always done that. People don't realize there's a
Wir sagen, eine zweite Instanz bestimmt, was richtig und falsch ist und man wirklich unfähig ist, den Fehler darin zu bemerken. Einfach nur Reductio laufen lassen und sagen, wenn, also du fängst den Satz als Conditional an, wenn dein Gott sagen würde, du sollst das und das machen, würdest du es dann auch machen?
phrase that we use. And it's the oldest excuse in the book is the phrase. But people don't know what it means. And it means the oldest excuse.
Nur es ist ganz klar, warum diese Leute das machen. Die religiösen Leute. Weil es ist einfach nur zu einfach. Du brauchst ja kein Argument, du brauchst ja gar nichts mehr. Keine Argumente, keine Logik, nichts. Du sagst einfach nur, die zweite Instanz sagt, was richtig ist. Fertig. Du kannst vor allem weglaufen, vor jeder Rechtfertigung. Du musst vor jeder Verantwortung einfach sagen, da steht's drin, das darf ich machen. Also das ist das Erbärmlichste, was es überhaupt gibt. Und ist ein logischer Fehlschluss. Heißt Appeal to Heaven Fallacy. Daher Reductio laufen lassen, auffliegen lassen, weg.
God says it's okay, and the book is the Bible or the Quran. And people have done this throughout history to justify horrible acts of violence, because what better way to sleep soundly at night than to say, well, my God says it's okay. But if you say your God condones torture, abuse, raping animals, stealing their babies, and mutilating animals, cutting their beaks off, ripping their testicles out, then the God you glorify is no better than the devil you condemn, because that's devilish stuff. That's not godly stuff. Let's not forget, every religion does have 4 words that people ignore the most: thou shalt not kill. But as George Carlin said, if you think about it, religion has never really had a big problem with killing. More people have been killed in the name of God than for any other reason. But it is the number one excuse, by the way. I learned this on the road. But you can talk to these people. Don't throw them out. I've converted tons of religious people. You just have to explain that, again, what I just said. That's not godly stuff. You're talking about devilish stuff. And bring up, for the Christians and the Jews, the Garden of Eden, which was a vegan haven, in Genesis 1:29.
Du kannst auch einfach nach dem Gottesbeweis fragen, dann fliegen die auch alle auseinander.
The first law was, I give you seed-bearing plants. Isaiah 11:7, the last law is, the wolf will live with the lamb, the cow will feed with the bear, no one will harm in my holy mountain. The beginning and the end are absolutely vegan, so strive towards those states. And what's funny...
Ich vergesse das immer zu machen, verdammt. Ich muss mir das merken, wenn ich nächstes Mal Stage mache und ich kriege einen Religiösen, dann nicht einfach das Reductio laufen lassen, das ist viel zu einfach. Beim nächsten Mal, ich muss mir das merken, wirklich. Wenn ich das nächste Mal Stage mache, pinkt mich jemand und sagt mir das. Oder, ne, pinkt mich nicht. Ich lese keinen Pinks. Komm kurz hoch auf die Stage und sagt mir das kurz. Könnt ihr machen, ich hab's euch jetzt hier erlaubt. Bei religiöser Person, Gottesbeweis. Habe ich noch nie gemacht, will ich aber unbedingt mal machen. Weil ich denke, ich werde das ganz gut können, weil ich ganz gut verstehe, wie man Epistemic Pressing macht. Ich glaube, ich könnte den gegenüber in fürchterliche Probleme bringen. Ja, aber ich vergesse das einfach immer. Erinnert mich daran.
Me too, Richard. They always say that humans are sinners. I find this odd, because then when I point out the biggest sin taking place, raping animals, stealing their babies, and murdering them, people all of a sudden want to justify it. I said, well, then what's the fucking sin? You keep saying humans are sinners. I'm telling you what the sin is. And God, in my eyes, I don't care what religion you believe in, created the animals. And if you say that it's okay to murder animals and you take part in that, you're murdering a piece of God. Have you also noticed, I got a lot of religious stuff to drop on you. Have you noticed too that religious people never worship anything that God created?
Yeah.
They only worship things that humans created in God.
Vielen Dank für deinen Subcard, die 57 Monate. Das ist aber von gestern das, oder? Vielen, vielen Dank für die unglaubliche lange Zeit Vegan Support.
God's name, the Bible, the Quran, the Star of David. But all of a sudden you tell them, hey, God created the cows, and people are like, oh, fucking kill them, cut their heads off, cut their horns off, steal their babies. They shit on everything that God created.
Ja, das ist immer so lustig, wenn ich Debatten höre von anderen Leuten und die religiösen Leute sagen dann sowas, Gott ist gütig, und man fragt irgendwie, ja, dürfte man Menschen essen, die sagen, nein, Gott ist gütig. Und dann denkt man sich so, oh, Gott ist gütig, deswegen hat er Tiere erschaffen mit Bewusstsein, die leiden können, damit wir Menschen die abstechen. Also, es ist einfach nur Ja, du kannst Religion auf so viele Wege debunken, das ist unglaublich. Aber es ist okay, religiös zu sein und es ist sogar okay und vielleicht sogar gut an einen Gott zu glauben. Nur du musst halt ein kluger Mensch sein und verstehen, dass aus Gott keine Richtigkeit folgt für deine Moral, nur weil es irgendwo drin steht oder dir jemand erzählt. Gott sagt, du darfst das und das und das machen. Also so schlau müsste ein Mensch sein. Dieses Spirituelle an deinen Gott glauben, bin ich voll dafür. Ich sehe kein Problem damit. Dass du betest, der gibt dir Hoffnung, Leben nach dem Tod, ist alles gut, nimmt dir Angst, bringt Menschen von Depressionen weg. Wundervolle Sache. Aber hinzugehen und zu sagen, das ist ein Buch und in diesem Buch steht meine Moral drin, was meine Moral richtig und falsch ist. Alter. Ja, und dann kommt man halt mit Logik, ne? Und dann schmierst du mit ihm die Wand.
Adore everything that we created in God's name. That is blasphemy and that's obscene.
Well, I think that's good evidence that humans are the ones that created God. Yeah.
Most likely. Or as Carlin said, the real God is the sun, because I could actually see the sun rising every day. It gives us life. And it would be just like us humans, so dense that right there in the sky is actually the God, but they want to believe in some invisible man in the sky.
Well, here's a good one. In Norse mythology, Odin killed off all the ice giants. You see any ice giants around? So, yeah. Wolf D donated $5 to Gary. You made me vegan instantly after I watched your speech 10 years ago. The day after I turned my brother vegan and 3 friends followed. Thanks for everything. Sweet.
Awesome, awesome.
Harry Pokeballs donated $5. Both my girlfriend and I went vegan together 10 years ago because of you two. People, especially stupid people, can really burn you out, but please keep spreading the message to help make the world a better place for all animals. Thank you for everything. Yeah, we're going to go into talking about burnout because I think we both probably have some good advice for that. Thanks for the donation, Harry Pokeballs. Base Vegan donated $2. Every time I breathe a word of veganism around my family, it turns into a screaming match. I hate them at this point, and I tried burning the bridge with them, but I have nobody else. What do I do? You know, I think you do, to some extent, have to get along with people. Like, you know, you're not going to agree on everything, and I think there is, and that includes veganism, but to some extent, you're going to have to cooperate with other people in your family or society. You know, I'm sure if you go to the bank, most of the bank tellers aren't going to be vegan, but if you get into a big enough fight with them, they're not going to give you, you know, your money. So you do have to kind of cooperate with people to some extent. Now, I wouldn't say don't ever bring up veganism, but maybe don't push it to the point where there's a screaming match. I think if you kind of more whisper in their ear about things and it doesn't get to a screaming match, you have more opportunities where you're going to be able to advocate for veganism and kind of plant a seed, you know, in their head that, you know, maybe I should eat less meat, you know, because it's healthier or something. And, you know, maybe it is good to cut down on meat consumption because a little too much animals are getting killed. You might go a bit further with not continuing the argument and maybe just, you know, hinting a little bit here and there. What's your advice?
Know your crowd.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're saying. Know your crowd, and families are the toughest. Go find somebody else that wants to listen. Stop banging your head against the wall with people that have already shown that they don't care. What's sad is that you can't make people care. I used to tell the crowd.
Ja, don't care, ja. Ich habe gestern Stage gemacht. Da waren mindestens 3 Personen, die Menschenrechte abgelehnt haben. Also die ins Reductio gebissen haben und haben gesagt, ja, diese Menschen darf man farmen. So. Ja, 2 haben sogar gesagt, die verstehen das Problem nicht, wo das Problem ist, wenn man Menschen farmt.
When they argue with me, stop bringing up dumb excuses like God says it's okay or I can't get my protein. Will you just look me in the eye and say I don't give a shit, and I'll move on to the next crowd, to the next person. Just be honest about it, but go find somebody else. And listen, you're right about that. We live in a society. You're going to have to get along with certain people at some times, but here, I'm at the gym every day. There are certain people I preach veganism to and certain people I don't. When I was with Erica a couple of years ago, there's the biggest meathead at the gym who squats 700 pounds and deadlifts 700 pounds. I talk to him a lot because I want advice about how to lift, but he's already shown that he doesn't give a shit about veganism, so we avoid the topic. But one day Erica gets into it with him, and then I got to jump in because he's screaming like a maniac. And then it's like, I was more mad at Erica. I'm like, what the fuck did you bring that up with him for? You never see me talking about veganism to him.
Yeah,
you see me talking
the
about
guy's
it
probably
to
also
Mike
on
and,
steroids and a little nuts.
yeah, Mike and Rob I talked to, and Chris is interested, and you know, Julia's interested. Don't talk to him about it. Now you ruined my day. Now I'm fantasizing about how I can kill him. This is crazy. Just pick your crowd, know your crowd. You can't talk to everybody. We'll get to those people later, but right now focus on the people that just don't know and that are thirsting for knowledge. And you should have a radar. I got a vegan radar. I walk into a room, I'm like, you know what? That person seems like that she would be interested. He seems like he doesn't know when he would be interested. Or, man, this guy is just, forget about it. Use the radar. Think about it. Think about who you preach to. Just save yourself a lot of turmoil.
Yeah, you don't need to bring it up with your family. If they've kind of proven that they're just not interested, then move on. Just talk to somebody else who is interested. But thanks for the donation, Based Vegan. And Based donated another $30. Thanks for the donation again, Based. Tyler, the Veginator, donated $20. Forgot to give you your $10 for finally deciding to eat food the other day. I've been on a diet for a while. Good job. I'm so proud of you. Here's another $10 for Gary, just because you both rock. Well, thank you, Tyler. Appreciate that. Going Anders donated $5. Since we're all here, can we settle the real definition of veganism, granting animals the same rights as humans, and end this outdated bullshit that people still use and sometimes create their own definitions? So I've debated a few activists on this. I don't usually get much pushback on this, but, you know, there's the vegan society definition, reducing as much as reasonable and practical.
Ja, genau dieser Punkt, ey. Ja, überall das gleiche Problem. Mit diesem so weit wie praktisch durchführbar oder sowas steht da, ne? Dieser unsägliche Blödsinn, den du fucking ausweiten kannst, dass den Satz, den jeder anders versteht. Ja, die offizielle Veganismus-Definition ist ein einziger Witz, Mann. Und wenn du die bessere Definition haben willst, dann gehst du auf meinen Server und gibst einen in irgendeinem Raum -vegan2. Da kriegst du ein paar sehr viel bessere Definitionen.
Exploitation, abuse, murder of animals for clothing.
Auf der du auf den Definitionen, auf den sehr viel besseren, kannst du halt erheblich schwieriger Reductios laufen lassen, wenn überhaupt.
Food or any other purpose. I think a better definition is veganism is the belief and practice of granting animals the same rights as human beings if trade equalized. So,
ja, diese Definition kommt mir sehr bekannt vor. What the fuck? Vegan Gains hat meine Vegan-Definition. Das ist ja viel zu lustig. Kann mal jemand Ausrufezeichen V in den Chat eingeben? What the fuck? Der hat ja meine Vegan-Definition. Und ich habe die nicht von ihm.
I think a better definition is veganism is the belief and practice of granting animals the same rights as human beings if trade equalized. So mentally disabled people, like, they have some restrictions on their rights. They might not be able to vote, but generally speaking, they technically do. But, you know, they won't be able to drive a car. They might basically be children or treated as children their entire lives. Animals are kind of a similar way. Like, my cat can't just go outside and live their own life, so I kind of have to keep my cat indoors. And he's fed vegan, by the way. And, so animals should have the same rights as human beings, assuming we're talking about human beings with similar...
Ja, der ernährt seine Katze vegan. Ja, immer noch keinen einzigen Menschen gesehen, der verteidigen konnte, dass man Katzen nicht vegan ernähren sollte. Das Einzige, was ich bis jetzt gesehen habe, ist Handwaving und halt Drownen in Fallacies. Wenn jemand Kritik üben will an der Position, dass man Katzen vegan ernähren sollte. Die ertrinken in Fallacies. Vor allem im naturalistischen Fehlschluss. So, ja. Ich warte auf den Tag, bis jemand verteidigen kann, dass man Katzen nicht vegan ernähren sollte. Komisch, ne? Das müsste doch so einfach sein. Das ist doch der Aufreger schlechthin. Katze vegan ernähren. Das ist ja... Genau. Außer Vogel zeigen kommt da halt nichts, ne? Ja.
Yeah. Characteristics, so like similar mental capacity.
Übrigens, jeder, der das jetzt hier sieht, wenn ich das auf YouTube hochlade oder sowas und denkt, was? Weil ich warte auf eine Debatte. Ich bin jederzeit erreichbar. Komm auf Discord und zeig, dass man Tieren Fleisch füttern darf.
We're not going to give cows the right to vote or
Vielleicht bist du ja der Erste, der das verteidigen kann.
be able to hold office, stuff like that. But since human rights, it's already well established. We have very well established rules for human rights that, for the most part, we agree with.
Und du kommst am besten mit Katzen sind Karnivore. Das ist das stärkste Argument.
Maybe some minor disagreements with should you be able to shoot somebody if they break into their house, and that's a big debate. But, as far as you can't kill somebody, you can't kidnap them, you can't rape them, you can't steal from them, those things have all been sorted out. So that's a good framework to go off of.
That's
so,
beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Basically the right not to be exploited,
Yeah.
not to be viewed as somebody else.
Ja, mein Video mit Katzen muss man vegan ernähren, das wurde auch ins Nirvana gedisliked. Natürlich keine einzige inhaltliche Kritik unter dem Video. Nur natürlich ad hominem. Das Übliche.
This is property. Think about this too. You can go around the world, black woman, white woman, Asian woman, Latino woman, doesn't matter which female. If she's pregnant and she has a baby, every single society agrees that baby belongs to her or her and her partner. But all of a sudden, if a cow, a pig, a chicken, a turkey has a baby, we think that baby belongs to meat eaters and the meat industry. This is the injustice to me. In fact, this to me now is the worst thing that we do, the baby stealing. So yeah, they deserve the exact same rights.
Und falls ihr ein englischsprachiger zuguckt, meine Videos werden ja automatisch auf Englisch übersetzt, mit Audiospur sogar. Da kann ihr mal zu dem da gehen, zu dem hier über mir, und die Position versuchen zu verteidigen, dass man Katzen mit Tierprodukten ernähren darf. Mal sehen, wie das für dich ausgehen wird.
When it comes to liberty, life, happiness, and not to be exploited.
Vegan Gains würde mit dir die Wand tapezieren, genauso wie ich das tun würde.
It's really that simple. You don't have to go deeper than that.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, so it's settled. The Lord Emperor of Veganism has settled it. Blue donated $30.
Was?
Happiness. So yeah, they deserve the exact same rights when it comes to liberty, life, happiness, and not to be exploited. It's really that simple. You don't have to go deeper than that.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, so it's settled. The Lord Emperor of Veganism has settled it.
Okay.
Blue donated $30. VG is why I went vegan almost 10 years ago, and Gary is the reason why VG went vegan. So thank you for both of you for all you do. The global elite hidden in WEF, WHO, UN, etc. unfortunately don't care about humans nor animals and want to enslave the whole earth. I don't know about that. That seems a bit of a conspiracy theory, but thanks for the donation, Blue. Lumi donated $3. The extreme leftists hate being called out on not being vegan because it calls out the reality that they aren't actually good people. Me hating that people praise Hassan Piker while eating a chicken Chipotle bowl. Yeah, I don't know if you know who Hassan Piker is, but he's like this crazy internet celebrity who supports Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, Muslim terrorists. Somehow he's still allowed U.S. citizenship even though he's a communist, and it's actually illegal in the U.S. to be a communist.
Ja, der ist ein Linker. Der Linke überhaupt, glaube ich, im englischsprachigen Bereich.
But yeah, all these people are just virtue signaling whack jobs, and they talk about wanting to be ethical when they're anything but. But thanks for the donation.
I noticed the human rights people like to walk around with an imaginary halo over their head too, to try to speak so much about this topic and that issue.
I made a post.
Ja, das sind die Guten. Sieht man ja. Sieht man ja in ihrer Handlungen und vor allem, was sie sagen. Nennt man nicht umsonst verleumder Bubble.
Post on Instagram. I've done my good deed for today. Yeah. User donated $15. 10 years, Gary/VG vegan. It's so cool seeing you guys speak. Well, thank you, user. Appreciate that. Ben Boy donated $2. Why is it that most of the people that seem to represent veganism in the media are all the ones that are easy to make fun of, like that vegan teacher, but when it comes to people like Gary Yourofsky, he barely...
Weil das so Leute sind, die Aufmerksamkeit erregen durch ihre Art. Ich weiß nicht, ob jemand mal The Vegan Teacher, die hat ja zig verschiedene TikTok-Kanäle, ich habe die alle abonniert. Was sie da macht halt, die tanzt und sowas und singt und so ein Zeug und das finden die Leute halt lustig und gut und so. So wird die halt groß, sie hat 1,5 Millionen Follower oder sowas.
Gets any mainstream attention. You got a fair bit of mainstream attention in the US. Like, I wasn't exactly all positive. I know people really like to, show the clips of you, raging out on people and kind of take it out of context and not really, explain why you might be justifiably angry. But people know I think you make a good argument. I think people know that I make a good argument. I think most people know that, veganism is something you should take seriously. And the easiest way to attack it is to maybe take some non-serious people and say, oh, this is veganism, some crazy unhinged lunatic. Or, find your worst moments out of context and say, oh, see, the vegan's insane, rather than actually listening to what you have to say. So
Actually, in the late 90s, when I was really hooked on media, which I no longer am, I don't think people change their lives because of the 5 o'clock news, but late 90s, early 2000 in Michigan, I got some wonderful media coverage. You can go to my website, adapt.org, 2 T's on adapt, ADAPTT. There's an in the news section. You could read the news articles. They were glowing. They were wonderful news articles about my activism, what I was doing. I got good coverage on the local Detroit TV stations as well. I even convinced several TV stations to let me run graphic advertisements. I was the first one, I think, in America doing this. I was running graphic ads about circus animals being abused, animals in the circus, I should say, being abused. They're not circus animals. You got to catch your language on that. Animals in the circus being beaten, animals on fur concentration camps being tortured and killed. I was running fur ads and circus ads on major stations in Michigan. So I got some pretty good coverage, and Israel covered me pretty well too, even though I had that incident with that one dude. But that wasn't even that. I don't even think that ever came out. They have that on video, but the guy's so embarrassed about me pushing him 15, 20 feet in his chair, he never released it. I want to see it, because I'm telling you, he flew, man. It was the force of fucking God. I was like, boom. He just took off in the air. He was airborne.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I think there's certain people who are just jackasses and will try to, make vegans out to be, wackos. And there's some people who are just more serious people who will be intellectually honest. But thanks for the donation, Ben Boy. Emmanuel donated $3. Gary, what do you think about carnivorous animals? Are you in favor of killing carnivorous animals to reduce negative rights violations to herbivorous animals? Corgi, Derp777, love you both, and VG.
Auch die Position konnte noch nie einer verteidigen, auch keiner von den Veganern. Die Veganer, die dagegen sind, dass man gegen karnivore Tiere sind, das sind alles Handwaver. Die Handwaven nur, dass sie dagegen sind. Keiner stellt sich actually in einer Debatte, wo der das versucht zu verteidigen. Dafür haben die Eier nicht. Die Veganer. So, ja, mit Omnis darüber reden ist so und so hoffnungsloser Fall, ist ganz klar. Die drownen einfach nur in Fallacies und gab es auch noch keinen einzigen, der das verteidigen konnte. Dass Löwen zum Beispiel Zebras fressen dürfen. So. Ja, da kommst du am besten mit ökologischer Kreislauf.
What do you mean the left wing is communist exactly? So, like, would you be in favor of, like, killing off carnivorous animals to protect herbivorous animals, like getting rid of tigers to, save peacocks?
So listen, it's my last speech in 2014. You can find it online. I actually opened up the speech condemning carnivore animals. I might have been the first one doing this. I'm not sure.
You probably were.
The more I think about it, in fact, maybe you and I can do this. I've always wanted to start an organization called HO, herbivores only, because they're the only ones living in peace. And when I hear vegans or anybody say, oh, well, the poor lion, he's got to eat, what they're saying is, fuck the zebra, save the lion.
Yeah.
I'm opposite. Fuck the lion, save the zebra.
Ja, das ist etwas, was ich niemals verstehen werde. Das geht in meine Birne nicht rein, da kannst du machen, was du willst. Ich kann Menschen sowas von nicht nachvollziehen, was im Kopf von Menschen los ist. Sogar Veganer, ne? Sogar Veganer. Die früher auch mega basiert waren, die auf meinem Server waren. Die basiertesten von allen. Die halt dann gebrainwashed wurden von politischen Leuten und zu den Schlimmsten geworden sind. Die haben auch ihre Position verworfen, was das Thema angeht. Natürlich. Und haben Probleme mit Logik und NTT vor allem. Ne? Das ist ganz klar. Daran kannst du dir auch immer erkennen. Was wollte ich sagen? Ach ja, genau. Sogar die Veganer, die stellen sich auf die Seite vom Löwen. Und das musst du dir mal geben. Du hast eine Auswahl. Auf eine Seite musst du dich stellen. Ne? Die Dichotomie-Frage. Auf welche Seite stellst du dich? Auf die Seite des Aggressors, der einen anderen umbringt, oder auf den vom passiven Wesen, das keinen umbringt. Und alle Menschen stellen sich auf die Seite des Aggressors. Why? Warum würde man sich auf die Seite des Löwen stellen? Wie kommt man auf sowas? Warum würdest du dich nicht auf die Seite des Nicht-Aggressors stellen? What the fuck passiert da in eurem Kopf? Ich kann eine logische Ausweitung machen. Auf welche Seite stellst du dich? Amokläufer? Schüler in der Schule? Also Schulamokläufer oder Schüler in der Schule? Du stellst dich auf die Seite des Amokläufers? Sagen wir, jetzt kommt das Gegenargument, aber der Löwe muss fressen. Sagen wir, der Mensch muss erschießen, ansonsten stirbt er selber. Du stellst dich auf die Seite des Amokläufers, anstatt auf die Seite der Opfer, die nichts tun. Was passiert in den Köpfen der Menschen? Und das machen sogar die ganzen Veganer, die von meinem Server runtergegangen sind und sowas, ne? Die stellen sich auf die Seite des Löwen. Das muss ja mal geben. Komplett alles hinüber in der Birne, ne? Das ist unfassbar. Du erkennst sie daran, dass sie Probleme mit Logik haben. Die sagen so, nicht Logik, lass lieber Emotionsdebatte machen, NTT ist scheiße und sowas. Daran erkennst du diese Gestalten immer. Unfassbar. Wie kommt man auf die Idee, sich auf die Seite des Löwens zu stellen? Guck mal, genau was Gary Yourofsky jetzt sagt. Pass auf. Exakt, was ich gerade gesagt habe. Pass auf.
I've always wanted to start an organization called HO. Herbivores only, because they're the only ones living in peace. And when I hear vegans or anybody say, oh...
Ja, when I hear vegans, ne, der redet auch von Veganern. Veganern, du fragst sie, auf welche Seite stellt sich vom Löwen oder vom Zebra, sagen die, ja, vom Löwen. Why? Wie kommst du auf sowas?
Well, the poor lion, he's got to eat. What they're saying is, fuck the zebra, save the lion.
Ja.
I'm opposite. Fuck the lion, save the zebra.
Ja. Wie kommt man darauf, sich auf die Seite des Löwen zu stellen? Was passiert da in deinem Kopf?
He's not harming anybody. Why does everybody acquiesce to the carnivore animal?
Ja, jeder stellt sich auf die Seite des karnivoren Tieres. Warum? Mit was für einer Begründung? Ich habe gerade die logische Ausweitung gemacht zu Amokläufern, die das machen müssen zum Überleben. Komischerweise stellst du dich da nicht auf die Seite des Amokläufers, ne? Alter Schwede.
That has gone into a rage.
Du kommst am besten, ich habe ein neues Argument, es ist auch noch das Ökosystem. Okay, sagen wir haben ein Ökosystem aus Amokläufern. Aus Schulamokläufern. Dann stellst du dich auf die Seite der Schulamokläufer, ja auch nicht, ja, Widerspruch Nummer 2. So, das ist, diese Leute, das ist unglaublich, ey. Vor allem, wenn es Veganer sagen, das sagen Veganer, Leute. Früher, die eingemacht haben auf, wir sind die Logiker und sowas, die jetzt gegen Logik sind, stellen sich auf die Seite des Löwen. Absolut, so ein unfassbarer Unfall.
It's dinner time. Now understand, I dig carnivore animals. I like sharks. I think they're cool, and lions and tigers, hyenas. Except when it's dinner time, they've lost their minds just like human beings at dinner time. If it's not dinner time, I could actually get along with a lot of human beings. But all of a sudden, they want to eat flesh. They want to torment somebody else. Think about it this way. If there's a lake...
Aber es ergibt einfach nur zu viel Sinn, gegen NTT zu sein, keinen Bock auf Logik zu haben und dann diese neue Position anzunehmen, dass man sich auf die Seite des Löwen stellt. Weil als Logiker der Pro-NTT damals war, standet man auf der Seite der Zebras. Und dann haben die das abandoned und stellen sich jetzt auf die Seite des Löwen. Oh ja, das ist zu gut, ey. Und haben auch politisch dann natürlich den Switch gemacht.
A river somewhere in the jungles of Africa and Asia, there's a zebra, there's an antelope, there's a rhino, a hippo, a giraffe. Everyone's living in peace, drinking water. All of a sudden, a lion approaches. Or a two-legged human approaches, everybody freaks out. They know who the evil one is. They don't run away if another giraffe comes. No one's going to get harmed when the giraffe comes. So even the herbivores are telling you, we don't want to die. Yeah. That's why they run away when they're being attacked. They don't want to be somebody else's dinner. So I am on the side of herbivores 100% of the time. And if I were ever there seeing an herbivore being attacked and I had a weapon, I'd shoot the fucking lion in his head.
Ja. Here we go. Hat jemand ein Gegenargument dagegen? Bitte jetzt nicht in den Chat schreiben, auch nicht unten in die Kommentare schreiben. Bitte sich eine Debatte gegen mich stellen.
Ja, absolut.
Und mir ist egal, ob du Veganer bist oder nicht. Wenn du Veganer bist, habe ich erst recht Interesse daran, dich darauf mal zu pressen.
An herbivore being attacked and I had a weapon, I'd shoot the fucking lion in his head. Yeah, absolutely. I'm always going to protect the victim like I would shoot a human in the head if he was raping a woman.
Oh, wow, look at this. Gary Yourofsky ist ein Logiker. Wow, wer hätte das gedacht? Direkt eine logische Ausweitung machen. Let's go. Obwohl die logische Ausweitung ist ein bisschen zu weit. Also man könnte das sehr viel näher halten.
Protect the victim in any situation. So yeah, but I want to be clear about this.
Hallo Zuckerinsel.
I want to convert the humans first before I fly to the jungles of Tanzania and try to convince lions not to eat zebras. What I think, Richard, is the herbivores are going to have to rise up on their own and fight back. And you probably saw the video that I think is
Danke, Zuckerinsel.
amazing. I used to show it during good Q&As, which was a lot. The one in Kruger National Park, when the lions attacked the buffalo, and then the buffalo ran away and got 500 or 1,000 more buffalo to come back and fight the lions off. There it is. They're telling you right now, we don't like this. Leave us alone. Leave our babies alone. You fucking murderers, get out of here. So I don't understand how anybody takes the side of a lion. I don't get it.
Ja, und das tun Veganer.
There's
Die mental abgereist natürlich.
there's a weird debate like going on with people in the vegan movement. You're on
In the vegan movement.
Carnism Debunks channel, George Martin. Yeah, he really doesn't like the idea, and I think he was actually a bit shocked at your response to that question. I think he suspected you'd
Ja, du kannst schockt sein, wie du willst. Du brauchst ein Argument. Schockt sein ist Appeal to Emotion Fallacy.
side with him. But yeah, you're probably the first person to really come out with that idea, because the only other person that I really saw brought it up was Dr. Avi. He's another vegan activist, and he only did that fairly recently within the last few years. But it makes sense. Like, I don't know why you'd side with, the perpetrator and not the victim.
I'll give you
Ja, Dr. Avi, die Debatte von Dr. Avi, der hat schon ein paar dazu gehalten. Culling Carnivores, und der verargumentiert logisch, dass man sogar die Obligation hat, die Tiere aufzuhalten. Also die karnivoren Tiere und Omnivoren auch. Man hat die Obligation, also Pflicht. Und ja, ich kann ihn nicht widerlegen. Ich kann es nicht. Die Argumentation ist völlig robust.
somebody else. I'm going to go way back in time. So when I started in the 90s, there was a group called the Fun for Animals. It didn't make sense to me back then, but
Und ich halte natürlich die Position von Nutrivore, der vielleicht drittbeste Debater der Welt oder so. Avi ist auf Platz 1, dass der Nutrivore sagt, das größte Tierleid auf der Welt entsteht durch Wild Animal Suffering. Erheblich mehr als jedes andere Tierleid zusammen. Und da sagen die Veganer, oh, das lassen wir mal sein. Ja, aber Menschen dürfen keinen Hotdog kaufen, alles klar. Ja, ne? Sobald du mit Logik ankommst, ne, wie das alles auseinanderfliegt. Wundervoll.
He had this position that he wanted to separate the carnivores from the herbivores. Now, back then, I was new. I wasn't thinking clearly. I thought I had to side with the poor lion who had to eat. But over the years, I thought about it. I'm like, man, he was spot on. You got to get these carnivores away from these herbivores. And spare me the whole line about they're controlling the population. Herbivores will control their own population. They won't, when a species feels like it's being annihilated, they start...
Ja, das Argument, das kennen wir nur zu gut, auch von Veganern. Wir brauchen die karnivoren Tiere, um die Population aufrechtzuerhalten. Also in einem Gleichgewicht und sowas, ja. Machen wir die logische Ausweitung auf Menschen und gucken mal, was du dann machst.
Twins or even triplets, when they're overpopulated, they stop having twins and triplets. They stop even having babies for a while. They can control themselves.
Ja, die Natur wird regeln, die Population offensichtlich. Das Nahrungsangebot ist endlich und nicht unendlich. Ganz zu schweigen von Krankheiten, Wetterbedingungen und so weiter und so fort. Also ja, diese Nummer ist schon seit 100 Jahren durchgekaut. Okay, sagen wir seit 10 Jahren.
Lions, when it's dinner time, are not needed. And as far as I'm concerned, since everything comes from the earth, and that's what we talk about, then the lions can go eat what everyone else is eating and get all their needs met. There's no need to be attacking these other creatures. And think about this too. As vegans, we always say that animals are sentient beings, one of our favorite lines, and it's true. They have brains, they have thoughts, they have feelings, they have emotions, they know right from wrong. So why aren't you holding lions accountable for what they're doing that's wrong? If you're going to say they're sentient beings, then goddamn it, they fucking know what they're doing is wrong. And I've seen it before, because I used to show videos too. After a lion sometime would kill a mother animal and then realize there was a baby there, they would protect it all of a sudden. Oh my God, this poor baby, I killed his mother. And all of a sudden he's thinking, shit, what have I done? They got brains. They know right from wrong. All of them do. Dogs, cats, lions, hyenas. They're smart.
Yeah, I've seen some weird situations like that. And yeah, I do think they do have some degree of moral agency or some sort of concept of right and wrong.
Why not?
Yeah.
Auch wenn die es nicht haben, ist irrelevant für die Argumentation.
And as far as your communist question, the left wing has been infected with communist ideology, I think especially since TikTok has come out. left-leaning, political positions, they're generally more tailored towards social services, providing free healthcare, stuff like that. But what you're seeing recently is a lot of people straight up supporting communism, and some of these, ideas made by Karl Marx of the proletariat rising up against the bourgeois class, seizing means of production, stuff like that. But yeah, there you go. Thanks for the donation, Emmanuel. Dart Vegan donated $5. Hey there, being vegan since 2014. I live in the Azores. I'm the only vegan in the island I live on. We have a heavy bullfighting and meat culture. I'm always fighting for animals, but it is hard being ridiculed.
Get out there more, man. You got to make some more vegans. You can't be the only ones. Preach. Get in the school system. Do something more, man.
There's got to be some people somewhere that will listen to you. There's got to be. And
be a leader then. That's a great opportunity. You be the leader in your area.
Yeah, and
bring veganism there.
Yeah. I think there's a weird quirk about human happiness that I think a lot of people don't understand. Like, living a very easy life, avoiding conflict and hardship, it's not necessarily the best pathway to living a life that you actually enjoy and is worth living. Just because something's very, very difficult and hard to deal with, it doesn't mean it's going to lower your happiness. I think pushing through hardship and doing something that's difficult, like, withstanding ridicule. If you're fighting for something that you really care about and believe in, even though it's difficult to fight for that, I think you're going to be much better off mentally in the long run than if you just kind of sat back, stayed at home, and then you have this thing eating at you where, again, you're not pushing your values out into the world and really making a difference. So I wouldn't be too worried about, there's a balance, obviously, that you need in your life, and we're going to talk about burnout in a little bit. But yeah, don't be afraid of, some criticism and pushing through some hardship with your activism. I think there's a healthy dose of hardship that everyone needs. But thanks for the
Don't
donation.
give up so easy.
Yeah.
You got to fight through it, man. Fight through it. Don't be throwing in the towel so soon. Come on. You got to fight harder.
Nicholas donated $3. Gary, saw your speech 8 years ago on Facebook and turned vegan on the spot. I'm now an activist for WTF Belgium. I turned my ex into a vegan and my girlfriend into an activist. Same for my cats and dogs. See you in Cologne. All right, well, nice. Thanks for the donation, Nicholas.
Awesome.
Axel donated $3. This question is for Gary. May I also get a conversation with you? I would love advice to get into street activism. Really need to do this full time. Who would...
Warte, gibt es nicht Menschen, die sagen, man kann nicht über 20 Jahre vegan sein? Erstmal waren es ja 10 Jahre, dann 20 Jahre. Der Typ ist 29 Jahre vegan. Nur mal so zur Info. Fällt mir gerade auf.
Did you say I should hook up with? No more donos.
Also ihr müsst die Bar jetzt auf 30 setzen.
Love you all unless you aren't vegan.
Ja, eine von diesen Personen ist Jasmin Kosubek.
Hook up with Anonymous for the Voiceless. Start a chapter in your area if you don't have one already. I got to tell you, I'm impressed. They are warriors, soldiers. They basically took my classroom lecture and condensed it into a 3 to 5.
Jasmin Kosubek, die gegen Raffaella eine Debatte gehalten hat und fürchterlich auseinandergeflogen ist. Das war was. Dodge-Weltmeisterschaften. Wundervoll.
Minute interaction with people, and I am impressed. And it's kind of funny to me too, because I started off as a street protester in the late 90s and decided to take my street protest to the classroom. Maybe did it in reverse, but man, they got a formula that works. I've seen it for the last week. It is amazing. They walk right up to people, engage them, and next thing you know, they're shaking hands and getting people to say, "You're right. I'm gonna live vegan from now on." So yes, start an AV chapter, man.
Yeah, at least as far as street activism is concerned, I think they're the best. And the leaders, like, Paul and Asal, again, they're not political. They're apolitical. They just care about the animals, and they've had a very hard stance on this. They don't involve any cross activism with Black Lives Matter or any bullshit like that. It's just about the animals, which is great.
It's hardcore stuff, man.
Yeah.
In fact, they just told me 2 people from Brussels resigned from the AV committee because of me. Again, they want to bring human rights into it. Paul wasn't even mad. He said, "Screw him, man. Oh, I didn't want the human rights involved anyways." Oh, and by the way, let me throw this out there. I think this is way better activism because it's education based. I'm not
Vielen Dank, Zuckerinsel, für das verschenkte Sub an Lilly. Danke für den Vegan Support.
fan anymore of just sign carrying protests. I think it's lost its luster a long time ago. It doesn't really do much. Keep in mind, I ran the gamut of activism over the last 29 years. I've experienced everything. There are some things I just don't think are effective anymore. Even if I did them back in the day, like civil disobedience. Yeah, I did it back in the day, but I did it to get on the media. I don't think it's that great anymore. I don't think society cares if you want to go to jail for the animals or go to jail for whatever human cause. Nobody gives a shit anymore. Used to be a good tactic, not a good tactic anymore. But education, always a great tactic, man. Teach. Remember, we didn't know at one time. Somebody told us.
People just need to learn.
Go out.
If people know, then they can make an informed decision.
Right.
Zohar donated $15. Thanks again for the moral clarity. Free the hostages. Well, thanks for the donation, Zohar. Ben Boy donated $2. Most leftists are performative and don't actually care about oppression. If they did, they would stand up for the animals instead of contribute to their suffering daily. Yeah, absolutely. Again, they're the type of people to post on Instagram, and then I've done my good deed for today. That's all they do. And then they just whine and complain if you're doing something they don't like. Marco,
the armchair activist.
Yeah. Marco Ortiz.
Complain about everybody else, but don't do anything.
Yeah. Marco Ortiz donated $10. Thank you, Gary, for all that you do. My family and I have been vegan for 8 years now, thanks to your famous speech, and we are so happy you're back. Well, thanks for the donation, Marco. Guy donated $10. I'm a meat eater, and I recently had to bury my parrot. I've never cried so much before, and I can't cause any more suffering to animals. Are there any useful tips you guys can give someone who wants to start cutting out all animal products? Do you want to start?
Yeah, Start today, man. Don't wait on it. You know it's wrong. Just you got to eliminate it. Make the change. If you were in the animal's position, you would want somebody to act right away. So just do it, man. And listen, again, new habits are hard to form. And I don't care if you start eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches 3 times a day, because guess what? Back in the 90s when I started, for 3 months, I ate PB&J for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I would have done it forever because I knew I didn't want to eat my animal friends anymore. But venture out. You don't
Ich liebe den Typ, Alter.
have to live off.
Ich werde auch von Peanut Butter Jelly leben für die Tiere, Mann.
PB&J. There's a lot of stuff to eat out there. And by the way, when it comes to losing a companion animal and the parrot, I empathize, man. In fact, I'm at a position where I haven't had a companion animal since Doyle passed away about 6 years ago.
Jetzt habe ich voll Bock auf Peanut Butter Sandwich, ey. Peanut Butter Jelly.
I can't handle the death anymore. It's just destroying me when I have to see this last moment. And I know I shouldn't focus on the last moments, and I should focus
Ich habe Toast, ich habe Marmelade, aber ich habe kein Peanut Butter.
on the life. But it's tough after 29 years, not only seeing my dogs pass away, all the animals that I befriended at Sasha Farm. I just have a really tough time dealing with death nowadays. Now, I do love the wild animals in my backyard. I've set up my backyard. It's a paradise. I actually dug a 30-foot trench connected to the sump pump. So when it pours out the water, all of a sudden the squirrels and the birds come. I got a groundhog living back there. I got a rat living back there. I think this year there are about 6 or 7 bunny rabbits with some babies. Never saw a baby bunny before this year, by the way. They're adorable.
Yeah.
So I love all the wild animals that I have in my backyard, but it's just hard for me to bring an animal into my house these days. I'm not advising people not to go rescue and save. I'll always find a dog or a cat a home. If people contact me, I'm like, hold on, I'm not going to take them, but I'll find a home somewhere else. But I'm just saying, I understand the pain of losing your best friend. Put it this way: I've had humans that I've known have died. I almost never think about them, but my dogs, I think about them every day. Even Shadow, my first dog when I was a kid, before I even understood animal rights, I always think about my companion animals every day.
Yeah, and I'd say
Ja, Gary ist schon mal nicht geisteskrank, der hat übelst krasse Empathie.
challenge22.com, they can be a resource for switching to a plant-based diet. PETA has their vegan starter kit, so that's another thing you can look into.
Ich glaube auch, wenn ich ein Haustier hätte und das würde sterben, ich glaube, ich würde daran zerbrechen, ey.
Too. But it's really not that difficult switching to a vegan diet. I think people think it's complicated. Like, chances are the majority of your calories that you're eating are plants anyway. Like fruits, vegetables, potatoes, rice, like everybody eats those foods to begin with, and that's where you're getting most of your calories from. All you really have to do is like switch your chicken to tofu, or maybe you can eat some mock meats. There's tons of them now. Like back when I started veganism, there wasn't any Beyond Meat. I think the only stuff that I saw in the grocery store was Eve's vegetarian stuff. So it's really easy now to find mock meat alternatives, and same with cheese, milk. You can just drink soy milk. You can find tons of different cheese. There's soy cheese, cashew cheese. So it's really not that complicated. And at the end of the day, just, live alongside your values. What would your parrot think if you were, killing and eating other birds? Chickens that are getting killed, they're not much different than your parrot. So just keep that in mind and live by your values, and don't support the suffering and death of animals.
And just make up your mind. Honestly, it's that simple. If you don't make up your mind to do this, you will fail. You'll find an excuse. But if you say, I am not taking part in this anymore, that is it. There is no more dead animals in my refrigerator or in my body. It'll be done.
Yeah. Anon donated $3. I'm curious on the carnivore/predator argument. What are your thoughts about the spiders/bug predators that control the bug population? If you have a roach or an ant infestation, is it ethical to kill them, or killing bugs to eat fruits? Well, if you have an infestation in your house, like that's just your personal property. So if there was like a human infestation in your
Wollte ich auch gerade sagen, mach die logische Ausweitung auf Menschen. Du würdest gegen Menschen dein Haus verteidigen, aber nicht gegen Insekten. Denk nochmal nach.
house, like people just ran in and started shitting on all your food, like, yeah, it'd be okay to kill them if that's the only way to get rid of them. So again, the idea behind veganism is giving animals the same rights as humans would have.
Niemals die vegane Definition vergessen, ne? Die logische Ausweitung von Menschenrechten. Mach einfach immer logische Ausweitung auf Menschen, dann siehst du das Problem. Oder nicht Problem.
If humans were doing that, then it'd be okay to kill humans if like hundreds of them just swarmed your house. And as far as killing carnivorous animals, like including like spiders, it's basically a calculation of whether or not it would reduce rights violations. So like spiders do also kill insects that kill other insects and even humans. Like mosquitoes, spiders trap mosquitoes and those kill human beings.
Ja, Spinnen töten Mücken und sowas und diese kleinen Fruchtfliegen und sowas. Von daher bin ich eigentlich pro Spinnen. Aber klar, ja, der größte Killer auf der Welt sind Mücken.
So it might not necessarily be a good idea to kill spiders or other bugs like dragonflies.
Also wenn es möglich wäre, wäre ich natürlich, wenn man auf den Knopf drücken könnte und die Mücken wären ausgerottet und das hätte keine Folgen, keine schwerwiegenden, würde ich auf jeden Fall sofort den Knopf drücken.
I know they eat a lot of mosquitoes.
Und damit Millionen von Menschen das Leben retten pro Jahr.
But yeah, as far as animals like lions, tigers, wolves, probably.
Und wenn dein Knopf wäre für Löwen ausrotten oder sowas, natürlich smash, ohne nachzudenken.
You don't want them around because they're just killing things. Thanks for the donation though, Gary. Hope that helps.
Just to piggyback on what you were saying,
Anon.
Richard, too. If you're being attacked, self-defense is a justifiable reason to kill anybody. And again, if your house, 100 people ran into your house, listen, I got a 9mm next to my bed. If 20 people run into my house, I'm discharging it. I'm unloading on everybody. This is my property. Now, I always try to find out the source of where the infestation is coming in. You want to do that. You want to block that off to prevent it from happening. Keep in mind, they're not just walking in through the front door. You got a hole in your house somewhere. Fix that hole in your house, and then you're going to solve the problem as well.
Yeah.
Find the source. Yeah. And spiders in my house get caught and let outside. It's weird because I kind of have a spider phobia. I think a lot of people do. But the more I get into veganism, 29 years, I'm fascinated with the insect world right now. And I find them to be pretty cool creatures. Yeah. They are. So.
Gary, the best, donated $3. Thanks for all the work you've done, Gary, and I'm glad to see you back. Out of all the activism that's come after, out of all the activism that's come after you, I still think your education-based lectures have been the most effective. Your message is strong, and you have an entertaining personality. Well, thanks.
By the way, thank you very much. And I just want to say it is the only positive thing I've given to the planet. I'm not an arrogant dude. I don't know much about other topics, but this touched me so deeply in my heart. I had to explain it to everybody, and I spent years trying to come up with the best way to explain it. And I do think that Georgia Tech speech that everybody loves, that's definitely my best speech that I ever put together. And that's my gift to the world, to try to open people's eyes.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody, for, by the way, listening to that.
And hopefully you keep doing it. You're a very, very convincing person, and anybody sensible listening to you, they take you seriously. So hopefully you keep doing it. Osman Dorelli donated $10. Great to have you back, Gary. You have been greatly missed. Richard, you are looking hench. You are both inspirational. Thank you for doing what you do for the animals. Thank you, Osman. Axel Fuzz donated $3. Question for both of you. What are your thoughts on dog training? I'm an aspiring dog trainer and wonder about the ethics of training
Gute Frage.
dogs to do certain things. My opinion, it benefits them, keeps them safe and confident within themselves. I would say it kind of depends. There's definitely dogs with behavioral issues, and I think dogs do need some mental stimulation. So if it's something that's fun for them and not stressful, and you're using positive reinforcement, it's a good thing. If you're training them to, I don't know, be police dogs where they could get in harm's way and get shot by a criminal or something. That is almost certainly morally wrong, because I don't think a dog can consent to putting themselves in that form of danger. And a lot of the training isn't just positive reinforcement. I know for a lot of dogs that are involved in security, they actually beat them to make them more aggressive. So again, if it's just maybe doing some basic tricks, like sit, stay, stuff like that, or maybe some agility training,
Catch a
that stuff
frisbee
is
or
fine.
something.
Yeah, like that sort of stuff is fine. But
I agree with what Richard says. And let me just throw one thing out there, too, that a lot of people miss. The leader dogs for the blind stuff is bullshit.
yeah,
And I'll tell you what opened my eyes to this is I was given a lecture in New York City, I want to say at City College. And I was waiting for the class to get out, and the teacher had a small dog that she was training to be for leader dogs for the blind. Well, I'm sitting on the ground. Of course, I want to pet a dog and see a dog. And I was like, come on over here, baby. And he comes over and he's shaking, and I pet him, and she goes, you leave him alone. You sit down over there. He's being trained. And it hit me. You are denying him his natural behavior. He wanted to come over and say hi, get some belly rubs, a tushy slap. So leader dogs for the blind is absolute nonsense.
Well,
and
especially now we have cell phones. Like,
yeah, well, you know what? That's a good job for a human being. I think Chris Rock had a joke about that. That's a good job for some human being. Is to have somebody lead them around.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch out. Step into some shit. Take a step to the left. That's a good job.
Yeah.
Leave the animals out of stuff like that. Dogs, for the most part, seem to want to please us. I don't know why, but hey, frisbee catching. I used to do that with my dog, or whatever it is. If it's fun and it's happy, that's okay. But you're dead right about the police dogs and stuff. Putting them in harm's way. Then they won't even give them a vest on top of it.
I think they do have bulletproof vests. I'm pretty sure I think some of them do.
Some of them do, but not all of them. Like they're always doing fundraisers. Like, wait a second, you're not doing fundraisers for the cops and their bulletproof vests? Fuck a fundraiser. If you're going to use them, at least give them protection. But that's still nonsense. I don't want them in that situation. And think about the 9/11. You know how many dogs? They said hundreds of dogs were dying because they had them out there sniffing for humans that were alive, and they wouldn't even give them protective footing. They were cutting their feet and bleeding to death.
Yeah.
Absolute nonsense. Again, but this is back to the humans are more valuable bullshit argument, and the animals don't count. So the dogs can sacrifice their lives for the humans. I say opposite bullshit. Humans need to sacrifice their lives for the animals.
I'd agree. Chidank made a really big donation. Chidank donated $100. Hi, Gary. Hi, VG. Go vegan, everyone. Well, thanks for the big donation. Really appreciate that. It's all going to Sasha Farm. So really appreciate that. Vegan cat food, donated $3. Are we getting into the vegan cat food topic soon? Sure. We can pretty much start now. But thanks for the donation, vegan cat food. One more donation.
Vegan cat food, jetzt geht's los.
Ben Boy donated $2. Gary, can you adopt me since my real parents are animal abusers and won't go vegan? I don't know.
Bitte Argumente dagegen, dass man Katzen nicht vegan ernähren sollte. Bitte Argumente, die ich dann logisch überprüfen werde.
I don't know about that. Maybe you could just find some vegan friends, Ben. But thanks for the donation. Yeah, so wanted to talk about this with you a little bit. There's a lot of fake vegans. Simnet Nutrition.
Ja, Fake Vegans, ja, haben wir auch im deutschsprachigen Bereich. Ja, alles das Gleiche. Leute, die sich vegan nennen, die ihre Katzen mit Tieren füttern, weil das ist etwas anderes. Okay, let's see.
And he's some fitness jackass on YouTube. Claims to be vegan. He feeds his cats meat. If you go on any vegan forum on Reddit or something and you bring up vegan cats, holy fucking shit, that's the easiest way to find out if somebody's a fake vegan or not.
Ja, das ist ein lustiger Punkt. Das ist der einfachste Punkt, um jemanden zu entblößen, ob er fake vegan ist. Du erzählst dem, man muss seine Haustiere vegan ernähren. Wenn er dich dafür angreift, dann weißt du, wo du dran bist.
I had a cat named Prismo. He died last year, had nothing to do with his vegan diet. He ended up getting an infection in his paw, and then it caused kidney damage, and he died from that. But my current cat, Gummy, he's been on a vegan diet. I adopted him, I think, when he was about 8 months old, and it's been about a year since I got him now, so I think he's close to 2 years. Totally healthy. He's huge, just monstrous cat, weighs 15 pounds. Really big, strong, muscular kitty. And again, the vegan cat food, it's formulated, perfectly for them, has everything they need. There's even research on vegan cats now. They're not randomized trials, but standard of evidence doesn't need to be particularly high. Assuming they're getting the nutrition they need, all you really need are things like, owner-reported surveys or...
Ja, alles, was sie brauchen, ist eine bestimmte Art von Nährstoffen. Und wenn sie die kriegen, dann ist alles okay. Und diese Leute versuchen dann zu argumentieren, dass die tote Leichen brauchen. So, was ist das Argument, warum die tote Leichen brauchen und nicht die Nährstoffe, die sie brauchen? Völlig egal, in welcher Form du sie ihnen gibst.
Surveys from veterinary clinics, and for the most part, vegan cats seem to be healthier.
Bin ich gespannt, was Gary jetzt sagt.
They
Ja, vegan ernährte Katzen sind gesünder als die nicht vegan ernährten.
have less
Genau das gleiche bei Hunden.
health issues overall. So, and they live about as long. So, there's still jackasses who claim to be vegan, who are in the vegan movement, who feed their cats meat,
Ja, das ist das gleiche wie Veganer, die sich auf die Seite der Löwen stellen.
and they're just shitheads. Especially that guy, Simnet Nutrition. He adopted cats before he went vegan, and he was still feeding the meat after he went vegan. His cats all ended up dying, and I think at one point he said he wasn't going to get any more cats because, you know, the feeding the meat thing goes against the vegan ethical principles. Then he adopted more cats and then started feeding them meat again. And every time people bring it up, hey, you know, you don't need to feed your cats meat. Like if he does a live stream, he just says, oh yeah, that's cool, I'll look into it. And then he never does. And I don't know exactly what his mindset is. I don't know if he's worried his cats won't be healthy if he feeds them a vegan diet. I know some people, they want to feed their cats vegan, but they're afraid of doing it because they think they're going to get public pushback and then get made fun of or be accused of an animal abuser. But
Ja, und die Omnis sagen, man wäre ein Animal Abuser, wenn man Katze vegan ernährt. Der größte Unfall, den man sich nur vorstellen kann im Kopf. Und was da abgeht, ja. Kein Wunder, dass die Omnis sind.
fuck me, to this day, I've been arguing about this for like few years now. People still, so many vegans or fake vegans are still feeding their goddamn cats meat. It's retarded.
The outrageous thing would be, imagine if we actually convinced humans to stop eating cows, pigs, chickens, and turkeys. Do all these people who feed their dogs and cats meat realize we'd still have to enslave, steal the babies of, rape, and murder cows, pigs, chickens, and turkeys, and fish to feed the dogs and the cats? It is not okay. You gotta make, after you change your life, okay, you need to change the lives of your dogs and your cats.
Ja, wenn die Menschen das für sich nicht kaufen dürfen, weil die Nachfrage scheint, was passiert da im Kopf, dass man das auf einmal bei den Haustieren darf? Das hebt nicht mehr in die Nachfrage? Das ist...
Well, now, Richard, you got proof that the vegan cat thing works. I've never had a cat companion, but I've had dogs. My last 2 dogs, both vegans, lived till they were 15 years old. I'll give you my own personal study. Previous to that, before I was vegan, my 3 dogs died when they were 9, 10, and 11 years old. My 2 vegan dogs lived till they were 15. Healthier for them, better for them. That the meat that they're feeding these animals to is
Probably lower
the worst shit
quality.
that's out
Yeah.
there. Yeah, it's what's
Of course, das ist so Hundefutter und Katzenfutter, also Leichenfutter für die Haustiere. Natürlich ist das der letzte Dreck, den man nur finden kann, weil das sind für Haustiere. Da gelten ganz andere Regeln, da dumpen die alles Mögliche rein. Völlig egal, sind ja Haustiere.
left on the slaughterhouse floor. It's all the abscesses they cut off the animals. It's not even a proper meat diet, if you can even say that. But yeah, definitely check out that vegan dog and vegan cat avenue for sure.
Yeah.
Ja, und jeder, der das verteidigt, dass man den Tiere füttern darf, ja, du kommst da, es geht hier um Moral, das ganze Ding, nicht um Studien, nicht um was ist das Beste für die Katze, es geht um Moral. Moral supersiedet das alles. Du darfst natürlich nur das machen, was moralisch vertretbar ist. Es gibt niemanden, der das verteidigen kann. Noch nie gesehen.
And I mean,
Das Einzige, was die Menschen können, ist Handwaven. Wow, Katze vegan ernährst, du bist ein Tierquäler. Ja, das ist Handwaving. Stell dich in eine Debatte, wo du die Position verteidigen wirst. Katzen sollte man Tiere füttern. Oder darf man Tiere füttern oder sowas, ne? Versuch diese Position zu verteidigen. Ich presse mal drauf und wir gucken, wie es für dich ausgehen wird.
if you claim to be vegan,
How could you even have dead animals in
Yeah.
in your house? I couldn't even bring it in
Ja, genau. Als Veganer haben die Tierleichen im Kühlschrank rumstehen. Für die Haustiere. Weil das ist etwas anderes.
my house.
They
It's absolutely
they
disgusting to
use
me.
the same arguments meat eaters make.
Ja, sobald es um Ernährung von Haustieren geht, vegane Ernährung, mutiert jeder Veganer, der das verteidigt, mutiert zum Omni. Macht 1:1 dieselben Argumente wie Omnis. Auf einmal ist das was anderes, wenn man das benutzt, um so eine Position zu verteidigen, dass man die mit Tieren füttern darf. Dann darf man die ganzen Fehlschlüsse auf einmal machen.
for eating meat. Like, it's natural. We evolved to eat it. You know, those. And then they use that same argument for their
Appeal to Nature, Appeal to Tradition, naturalistischer Fehlschluss auf Platz Nummer 1 natürlich.
cats, and it's like
1:1 mutieren die zum Omni.
how do you not realize you're saying something stupid when you have to, you know, debate these same arguments? But yeah, it's just retarded.
Die Veganer, die debattieren gegen Omnis, sagen, hey, hier, Traditionsfehlschluss, hier, naturalistischer Fehlschluss, ne, die ganzen Fehlschlüsse und gehen dann eine Debatte über das Thema und sagen, ja, aber das ist Tradition, ja, aber das ist natürlich. Junge, das kannst du nicht ausmalen, ey.
Yeah, I agree.
Anon donated $3. What's your position on animal testing / rat trials if it helps with medical and scientific progress that helps people in the future?
It doesn't, first
it
of all. It's
yeah.
absolute nonsense.
There's actually been a few studies on this. I know at least for drug trials, it's literally a coin flip, whether or not the research is even useful. So rather than doing the testing, you can just flip a coin. Oh, heads, I guess we'll move on to human trials. Animals are not human beings, like rats aren't human beings, so if you're doing some sort of drug testing on rats...
5% der Tierversuche, der erfolgreichen Tierversuche, 5% davon landet auf dem Markt. So, ja, was für ein unfassbarer Waste.
There's no guarantee that those drugs are going to function the same way in human beings. So, no point.
You can even ask any vivisectionist if you can do a rat study to help horses with a condition. And they'd laugh and say, why would we use rats to help horses? And I would come back and say, I don't know. Why would we use rats to help human beings?
So gut, ey.
Or any other creature. It's absurd. The only creature that would...
Ja, das ist Diskussion unter Logik-Veganern, ne? Oder Interviews und so. Das ist so genial. Da fühlt man sich so wohl unter diesen Logikern, einfach nur genial. Es ist so unglaublich angenehm, sowas anzuhören. Das ganze Gespräch ist eine einzige Streicheleinheit.
benefit would be the same creature that they're researching on, but then you have ethical dilemmas too. I don't think one rat should have to die to help 50 or 100 other rats. I just don't believe that stuff. But vivisection is barbaric.
Yeah.
It is archaic. It is outdated, outmoded in this day and age with cellular biology, molecular biology, and now we got the AI stuff. This is where the advancements are coming in human-based clinical trials. The animal research is complete and utter bullshit science. It has no bearing on human health whatsoever.
Yeah. So even if there was a situation where animal testing could actually be useful and applied to, research in humans, still unethical, like name the trait that's lacking in animals that if lacking in a human being would justify that sort of inhumane treatment in the human being.
And think about this too, and we talked about this several times on your show already, it's back to human supremacy. Yeah. Why in the world should a rat, a pig, or a dog have to die for a...
Dein Pferd ist 17 Jahre alt. Krass, wie alt werden die denn?
Human being, people have to stop thinking the world revolves around us. It does not. We are a scourge to this planet, and our lives are certainly not more important. In fact, the way I see it, they're less important than the animals.
Well,
30, alter Schwede.
Humans are fucking cowards. If you want to benefit humanity and advanced research, okay, well, donate yourself. Get vivisected.
I was going to say, listen, I'm not opposed to using other beings to help other beings. In fact, I would gladly donate all the bodies of all the vivisectionists. Or how about all the husbands and wives of all the vivisectionists? Yeah. How about all the child molesters sitting in prison? How about all the rapists sitting in prison? I will donate a lot of human lives, and you'll get some damn good results.
Much better research. Yeah.
The animals are 100% innocent in this situation. We could find 100% guilty human beings or just human beings in general because we suck in general. Yeah, go donate your life. If you have a son or a daughter that's sick and you really love your son or daughter, I'll tell you what, you donate your life to help your son or daughter if you love them so much. Yeah. Leave the animals out of it. They don't want to be sacrificed for your son and your daughter.
Ja, das ganze Ding mit den Tierversuchen scheitert da schon daran, dass die Tiere keinen Consent geben können. Von daher darfst du das nicht machen, würdest du auch im Menschenkontext nicht machen. Menschen, die keinen Consent geben können.
Yeah, so I hope that answers your question. Thanks for the donation, Anon. Babe in the big city donated $30. Gary, I hope the future is a vegan world and people will look back and remember your impact. Both of you are inspirational and are great role models, showing just because you have a big heart doesn't mean you're soft. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what's great about your activism too, especially with a lot of men watching. Again, I think for a male audience, just...
Er ist 7 Jahre jünger als du. Du bist 10 Jahre alt. Okay.
seeing a guy who's compassionate but not like just some weenie who's soft-spoken and won't like stand up. It's
Ach so, oh, sorry, ich habe mich verlesen.
great seeing a guy with like just strong conviction who will, shove a guy 15 feet across the room for being a dickhead.
Zum Glück bist du nicht 10.
But
Yeah, Richard, listen, you're the same too, man. I love the toughness, and as far as I'm concerned, a real guy stands up for injustice. A pussy fucking takes advantage of somebody else that's weak.
Ja, und wir hören ständig auf der Stage, man darf die unter sich aufessen und ausbeuten und alles mit denen machen. Ja, und dann gibt es halt solche Menschen, ne, die ganz genau das Gegenteil sagen. Die sagen, die schwächer sind, die werden natürlich beschützt. Und je schwächer die sind, umso mehr werden die beschützt. Ja, gibt es solche und solche Menschen, ne?
Than them, which is what most humans do to the animal kingdom. Because Richard and I have the same power nearly everyone.
Weil gute Menschen haben keinen Bock zu argumentieren wie Vergewaltiger oder Sklavenhalter.
Else has, but we choose to lead with a loving touch, not an iron fist, which is what everybody wants to do to the animal kingdom. I want to protect them. Richard wants to protect them. We don't want to violate them. A real man does not violate beings that are physically weaker than they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the donation, babe. Stitching No Fap donated $34. The 2 goats of veganism. Well, thank you, Stitching No Fap. Street Vegan donated $69. Really appreciate that, Street Vegan. Thanks a lot. So, let's talk about like burnout with vegan activism. I've definitely experienced that in certain periods where I didn't really, I just had to learn how to manage my time. A big issue for me was that I knew I could win every argument, but I would keep having every argument with every single person, thinking I can win. But the problem is, you can win the argument, but you're wasting your time. You're not like, the goal is to turn people vegan, and I had to learn that if the goal is to turn people vegan, but you're trying to win every argument, you might win every argument, but again, you're not turning everyone vegan. And I would just go nuts fighting people in the comment section. So I just.
Ja, da kann man nur ausbrennen, gegen YouTube-Rambus, YouTube-Kommentar-Rambus, also Tastatur-Rambus zu argumentieren. Da kann man nur ausbrennen. Ich habe noch nie irgendeinen Sinn darin gesehen. Ich mache das seit Ewigkeiten, mit Leuten in den Kommentaren zu schreiben. Das sind die größten Weasel und Feiglinge, die es nur gibt. Daher gab es auch noch nie jemanden, der sich einer Debatte gestellt hat. Was ist mein Score? 528 Mal zur Debatte herausgefordert, 528 Mal Absagen bekommen. Okay.
Had to like just learn some skills where, okay, and notice some patterns. Like if some people made certain arguments in response to something I said, they're a waste of time. They might bring up something about like, oh, vegans are protein deficient, and then I'd literally send them a big.
Ja, und dann sagen die Menschen haben aber schon immer Fleisch gegessen. Die sagen einfach irgendwas, anstatt auf das einzugehen. Die verstehen nicht mal, dass du sie debunked hast. Die sind einfach zu dumm dafür.
Study on protein, on vegan diets, and like you can see, nitrogen balance here, absorption here, goes into everything in detail. And then if they'd respond, oh, I'm not reading that, or who cares about a study? Look at the biggest bodybuilders on the planet. Okay, They're stupid. Move on. Like if they're
interagiert mit dem Claim nicht.
If their argument
macht einen neuen Claim.
Was you can't get enough protein, and then you show them.
Und das kannst du in einer Debatte verhindern, indem du ihn presst.
You can get enough protein, but then they refuse to look at what you're saying or take it seriously. Then they're just not a serious person, and you've got to be able to pick out who the serious people are and pick your battles, and just realize, unfortunately, not everyone's going to go vegan. The first conversation you have with them, or even you can have 100 conversations with them, they're just not going to go vegan.
Ja, so gehe ich auch mit Kritikern um. Ban or, vegan Debatte or bust. Oder Debatte or ban. Und die entscheiden sich immer für Ban, so von daher. Komplett sinnlos.
This is the main problem too with online activism. If somebody is not willing to read on the other end of that screen, you are wasting your time and building up your blood pressure and stressing yourself out, which is why I was fortunate enough to have these classroom lectures, because it was face-to-face and I could really talk to them. But there were still times I probably should not have engaged with these people who weren't listening, but I felt like I had to win that argument, as you just said, Richard. But watch out for your stress levels, because my stress levels were through the roof. My body was becoming inflamed. My hands would have hurt. My legs would hurt. It's like, oh my God, what am I doing? And then it led to insomnia. Do you know that I pretty much only slept 2 hours a night for the last 25 years? Sometimes I get 4 hours and I'm thrilled. Last night I actually got 5. I'm like, oh my God, this was a great night. But I've looked up studies where 3/4 of your genes can stop functioning properly if you don't get proper sleep. So for me, my brain is a curse and a blessing. It's a blessing because you heard all the speeches, all the ideas I came up with, all the comebacks I had. But the curse was I came up with those ideas at night. As soon as I put my head down to try to sleep, my brain would put me in a mock debate with Stephen Colbert, with Sean Hannity, with Bill O'Reilly. Okay, Gary, when they say this, what are you going to say? And I'd say, God, just let me go to sleep. I'll figure it out tomorrow. I was like, no, Gary, what are you going to say? And then I go, oh, wait, I got something really good. Okay, all right, can I sleep now? But then my brain would say no, because then they're going to say this, and what are you going to say next? And it was all night long, this battle I had. So this led to what I call brain melt in me. My brain is melted from dealing with society's stupidity. I mean, at the end of 2014, after my last lecture, I didn't even understand what I was arguing about. I'm asking people not to steal somebody else's baby, not to rape somebody else, not to kill somebody else, and there's pushback. So it became so stressful to me. I had to back away. My body was not healthy in 2014. You can see me now. You can see how good I look. I'm back. I got my calmness down. I really don't want to quarrel with people that much. I want to be a mediator. I want to state my case for the animals. I want to tell some stories on all these podcasts about the things I went through. But you have to reduce your stress levels. We know stress can be a killer. Even during my speeches, when I would say the main cause of all of our diseases, meat, cheese, milk, and eggs. But I'm aware stress can bother people and cause diseases, smoking cigarettes, not sleeping well, chemicals in the environment. There are other things to be concerned about. So somehow, I'm not the best person to ask, but somehow you're going to have to figure out how to reduce your stress. Richard brought up some good ideas already. Don't fight with people that aren't listening. Go out and
I think
find the
that's the
people.
biggest one.
Yeah,
Yeah, by
because
far.
there are a ton. Look at the people I've converted. Lots of people want to know. Tell me more. Oh my God, I didn't know. Somehow you got to find those people, and then you won't have arguments. You'll just have questions, serious questions. Hey, actually, what should I eat tomorrow? I never minded those questions when they were serious because I had them too. I'm like, oh my God, I would love
Schade, Stream bisher verpasst.
Jo, vielen Dank, Veganophil, für 39 Monate, unglaublich. Du bist krasser Supporter, vielen Dank für den Vegan Support. Ja, kommt heute noch als Video, von daher kein Problem. Ist aber absolut ein mega Gespräch, holy shit. Das beste vegane Interview, was ich je gesehen habe. Und die geilsten, brutalsten Themen angesprochen. Katzen, vegan ernähren, Löwen erschießen, alles was du willst. Politik.
The first 3 months were really peanut butter and jelly. I can help you out now. So find the people that are listening. Avoid those distractions. Avoid those evil people that are only concerned with themselves, and your stress levels will definitely go down, and you'll feel a lot better than I did in 2014, which is why I did have to step back.
Yeah, and as far as finding people who are receptive and aren't going to give you like insane amounts of pushback, Nigerian scammers kind of do this. They deliberately send out emails. People question like, who are they convincing? Like, why are they saying something so stupid? They're doing it deliberately. It's not that they're stupid. They're smart. They're sending out really dumb emails. They're obviously scams because people who, if they make a very elaborate scam that's kind of hard to detect, well, then these smarter people are probably going to catch on at some point. You're going to ask like a question, like, why do I have to send it to this account? Like, why is there so many spelling errors here? This doesn't really sound right. And then they're going to waste hours and hours of their time. So they send out these emails that have really bad spelling, like stupid situations that don't make any sense. Why does a white person have family in Africa? They do this because if somebody falls for it, well, they're the type of person who's going to fall for the scam, and then they're not going to waste their time. They're just going to get the money real quick. I think you can employ a similar strategy with veganism. And a lot of people try to be as friendly as possible, like non-hostile. I know there's like a lot of these kind of pick-me vegans who say, don't shame somebody for eating meat. You know, they don't know any better. I think that saves you a lot of time wasting, because if somebody's a serious person who's actually ethically minded, if you go hard on them and say, you're a piece of shit for eating meat, you're an animal abuser, and you're doing the Nigerian scam thing, where if somebody's only acting nice to you and only asking like sensible questions just because you are nice to them, they might have no interest in veganism at all, and they just want to hear you talk or have a conversation or have somebody blow smoke up their ass or validate some of their own insecurities. So if you go hard on some people, sort of like you do and like I do, I think you're doing the Nigerian scammer thing where you're weeding out people at least a lot of people who are just going to waste your time, who aren't really interested in veganism, and maybe just want a nice conversation or wants to hear somebody validate, what they say. So that is one
Excellent
strategy.
analogy, my man. Excellent analogy. That's so good. Put the feelers out there. Here, this is what I do at the gym. I let everybody know casually at some point that I'm vegan, and then I read them. Hey, do they seem interested? Do they seem like that they don't know and they'd like to know more information? Or do they seem like they're impossible? Avoid the impossible ones and find those people that seem like, oh, really, Gary? Like they'll ask me a question. How long have you been vegan? Oh, 29 years. Wow. I've thought about that. Hey, here we go. Well, let me give you a speech. Let me give you this information. Can I take you out to dinner? Can I take you out to lunch? Please do that. Sometimes people have that preconceived notion that, oh, vegan food is gross and disgusting. Take them out. There was a guy at the gym, man. He looked like Goldberg, the wrestler. My boy Dave. And Dave fought me, but he was listening. And one day I said, just let me take you out to this place. And it was CMO, chili mustard onions. They had this mock Big Mac. I wasn't eating badly back then. But I took him there so he could have it. So I ordered him the Big Mac, and he's sitting there looking at it. It's a fake Big Mac. And I said, Dave, I want you to be vegan. He said, yeah. I said, do you think I'm going to feed you something that's disgusting? Take a bite. He takes a bite and goes, oh my God, this is amazing. How come you don't sell this to McDonald's? Can I bring my wife tomorrow? He brought his wife the next day to have the Big Mac. So take somebody out for some vegan food. Find those people that are thirsting for knowledge and deliver. Avoid the hassles, and you keep your stress levels down.
Yeah, and sometimes it is impossible to avoid like complete jackasses. Like it's just going to happen. Sort of like when you're on the road. You're going to find somebody who will cut you off in traffic, and then you try everything you can to like avoid them. Okay, I'll just like slow down a bit, and then they think you're in the wrong, and then they'll like try to chase you and cut in front of you again and brake check you, and then you pull over to the side of the road. Okay, I don't want to deal with this. Then they'll pull over too for no fucking reason, even though you're trying to avoid them. There are people who are just going to get in your way, and I think it's important to realize you do have power over your own mind, and I think people should look into Stoic philosophy. A really good thing to tell yourself is that anger comes from within. There's nothing external, and that comes with any emotion. All of it comes from within. There's nothing external that forces you to behave a certain way. Your reaction to things is entirely due to your perspective and your choice of how to react. I'm sure everyone at some point has done some sort of mental exercise. Like they know if they go into work or they know if they have to do something, it's going to frustrate them, but you tell yourself beforehand, okay, I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to freak out. And that helps. Having that sort of mindset, okay, I'm not going to feel this way or act this way, it does help to bring down the temperature. And you can always practice that and remind yourself every day, I don't have to feel miserable about this. I don't have to stress out about it. I don't have to feel angry. And practicing that sort of mental task of just make sure I control myself, realizing everything comes from within, you can always bring down the temperature and avoid some of that really nasty stress that eats away at you. And you also mentioned like when you tried to sleep, you'd always run these scenarios in your mind, like, okay, but then he'll say this, but then he'll say that. Okay, like, let me sleep, but no, then he'll say this. There are some meditation strategies that you might want to look into that can calm down your thoughts. And one big thing is, like, your brain does wire, like, it wires itself to think a certain way and, like, continue along a certain amount, like, these thoughts. If you're kind of involved in activism, like, all day, every day, you're wiring your brain to just constantly think about it. And then by the time you try to sleep, it's still going to be there. So breaking up some of your habits and some of your
Also ich hatte noch nie Probleme damit, irgendwie nachgedacht, ja, wie war die Debatte oder sowas, was hätte ich sagen können. Also danach, ja, aber nicht im Bett oder so.
mental energy. So like try to spend like some amount of time with vegan activism, but then make sure you have some like other projects or other thoughts to work on. So like maybe just focus on lifting for a certain period of time of the day. Focus on something that's like just purely enjoyable, like, a good book or like a good movie or series or video games. Breaking down like different tasks throughout the day so that your brain doesn't just constantly create these neurological pathways of veganism, argument. By the time you go to bed, you'll just have more things to kind of divert your attention. Where, okay, like, I'm gonna have a debate with this guy. What's he gonna say? Well, he'll say this, he'll say that. But you can maybe kind of break it up and then start thinking about, that movie I watched was really interesting. Like, I wonder what this character was really thinking. Or, man, that thing I did was like really enjoyable. That game I played was great. Like, there's just more to kind of divert your attention towards that doesn't go into this like infinite loop. So there's a lot of mental strategies that I think a lot of people kind of neglect. I think meditation, a lot of people kind of think it's woo-woo bullshit, and I think a lot of people don't really understand it. But just practicing observing your thoughts, I'd really look into Sam Harris. He's a massive hypocrite when it comes to
Ja, Achtsamkeitsmeditation, voll geil.
veganism, but he knows a lot about meditation. But just learning to observe your thoughts and kind of break these weird cycles that you go under of, oh, he'll make this argument, this is my response, then he'll make this argument, this is my response. If you can just observe some of these thoughts and realize it's separate from you, Because there's a lot of stupid things that can go through your head, and some of them can get into a pattern. If you can learn to push those thoughts kind of away from yourself and not internalize them so much and just observe them, it can really help calm your mind down, like realizing that you're not just your thoughts, and you do have some control over it.
Wir brauchen mehr Vegan Gains und weniger Mimimi. Oh ja, da sagst du was.
Vegan Gains, you are a wise man. I'm listening, man. That was beautiful. I have nothing to add. I have been doing some more deep breathing throughout the day. In fact, before this interview, I actually sat there for 2 hours and laid down and just inhaled through my nose and exhaled through my mouth, and it's so calming, and I felt really good. I might even dozed off for about 15 minutes during that. So, man, what he said is spot on. That's some great advice.
And
wow.
Everyone has their own tolerances for stress. Like, you know, there's some people who are just amazing, gifted athletes. They can train like 8 hours a day, be fine. And then there's other people, if they go to the gym for an hour, they're just wrecked and like super sore. So same thing with like stressful situations. You kind of have to learn what your tolerances are and respect them. It's like, I know you can get in your head, oh, you're a pussy, other people can go harder and longer. You have your own tolerances, you know, and you kind of just have to learn to respect where your limits are and just, you know, appreciate the amount that you're able to give and don't be too hard on yourself and, you know, just do what you can manage. Yeah.
Again, I have nothing to add, man. You covered it beautifully, man. What he said.
All right, there's some more donations. Ruda donated $10, gives a bunch of heart emojis. Really appreciate that, Ruda. Dodo donated $3. That same argument against animal testing can be made in argument of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Those Japanese people didn't want to die to prevent World War II, so why should int the animals? I'm not sure I totally understand that, but
it has no bearing. It is completely
I
ridiculous.
don't understand that one.
Assessment.
But thanks for the donation, Dodo. Lester donated $30. Great interview. We'll appreciate that, Lester. Dodo donated $3. Also, the life of a human is much more important than the life of any animal, according to what Jesus said in the Bible. I think he's just trolling. But thanks for the donation anyway, Dodo. Lisa,
actually, let me bring you. I want to drop something. This is brand new for you. So I watched Christspiracy last year when it came out. The producers contacted me. I'd influenced them. They said, "Hey, Gary, would you watch this? Let us know what you think." As I'm watching this, I realized something, that first of all, humans have stolen everything from the animals, right? We steal their skin, we steal their babies, we steal their flesh, we steal their lives. I got news for you. We stole something else from them. Where was Jesus born? And I don't mean a city. He was born in a manger. He was born in a barn. Who lives in a barn? Animals, not humans. Jesus' last act before he was crucified, he opened up the cages at the temple to let the animals who were going to be sacrificed free. He was an animal liberationist. And he was killed for that? Shocking. They killed him for being an animal liberationist. Well, I got news for everybody. We stole their Messiah. He didn't come here for humans. He came here for the animals, to save them. You should get into the real teachings of Jesus, the gospel of the Nazarenes. The Nazarenes were a strict sect of vegans. They were descendants from the Essenes, descendants from the Pythagoreans. There's a clear line there, but I got news for everybody. Jesus did not come for us. He came for the most oppressed and the most abused. He came for the animals. This is giving you knowledge for everybody.
There's a Bible scholar that makes YouTube videos. I asked him a question about Christspiracy during one of his live streams, and he said he doesn't agree with Christspiracy. He said, like, he likes the idea, but it's not really supported by, you know, like, historical evidence. I'm not sure. I'm not I'm not a Bible scholar, so I really wouldn't be able to push back either way.
Ja, Grog.
On any of these ideas. But I think what people, it's very easy with some of these old stories, or really any story, to kind of interpret them in your own way. I learned this from watching an interview with a movie director. There was a movie with Nicolas Cage that came out a while ago. I think it was Bad Lieutenant. There's these scenes in the movie where just inexplicably there's these iguanas that show up. It's about this corrupt police officer who got addicted to drugs, and inexplicably there's a few scenes with iguanas. And people like theorize what the iguanas represented in the movie. Like, maybe it's a sign that he's just going insane, and like these iguanas are kind of a symbol for his insanity, and that's creeping in. There's some other ideas that had something to do with like corruption or something. But the director was interviewed, and he said, I just put them in. I saw an iguana, like they're shooting in Florida, and he said he saw an iguana and he thought it'd be cool to put them in the movie. So like all these people had these like complex kind of neat ideas of how like the iguanas fit into the movie and what they symbolized. And the artist himself who put them in the movie said, I don't know, that'd be cool. So I don't, yeah, like I don't know, like all these stories, like who the fuck knows what the original authors meant? And I mean, especially when you're talking about the Bible and the Gospels, most of the Gospel authors never even met Jesus. They're written like 30 years after the fact. They're translated multiple times. There's a bunch of shit that ended up getting removed because like a few kings and rulers didn't like some of the ideas and stuff. Who the fuck knows? Like, I just rather stay away from some of these religious arguments because I see veganism as just secular. It has nothing to do with any kind of religious belief.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. In fact, I tell people all the time, how could you trust a book that's 2,000 or 5,000 years old? We can't even turn on the news today.
Yeah.
The same issue, you turn on Fox News and CNN, it's the same issue, you get a completely different story. And that's today. let alone thousands of years ago, and it's changed hands, rewritten, reinterpreted. I agree with what you're saying too. People just need to look within. It's compassion. It's always going to be kindness. You can never go wrong by choosing kindness and compassion and justice, which is what veganism and animal rights is all about. Doesn't matter what you believe in. In fact, I don't care what you believe in, as long as you're a good person. You can worship the rock down the street. I don't care. You can worship a tree. You can worship whatever you want, as long as you're not harming and killing somebody else.
Yeah, like these are just stories at the end of the day. Like it doesn't really matter. You can have different interpretations with, you know, a given story, and especially once like all the authors are dead, you can't ask the original artist what they meant by it. And you know, multiple people can read the same book and get, you know, different things out of it. Some things are more explicit and obvious, and it's harder to kind of misinterpret. But with a lot of art, you know, it's open to interpretation, like especially abstract art. It's whatever you make of it, you know, a lot of the time. So you know, it's fine to kind of think of these stories in certain ways, but you know, it is plausible that somebody could, you know, listen to the Gospels of Jesus Christ, not get any kind of idea of vegan activism from it. It's possible you could meet somebody who gets the opposite, thinks it's okay to kill animals. I just don't want people to use like these stories as a justification. You can think whatever you want about art or literature, but it has nothing to do with an argument for, you know, killing animals, even if it agrees with, you know, veganism. Stories don't mean it's right or wrong, you know. So yeah, at the end of the day, I just rather people stay away from using, you know, religious justification, either for or against veganism. I just
Ja, weil es ein Fehlschluss ist.
see it as a secular thing. I think secularism has a lot more survivability. If you're making a secular argument for veganism, then like that's just the argument. If you're making some sort of religious argument, well, it's open to interpretation, right? So a future society or culture can read the same story, get something completely different from it. If you just make it
Da könnte ja auch was anderes stehen. Würdest du dann das andere auch richtig finden?
an argument, you know, that's logically sound, well, that's the argument. You can't change it. But, you know, religion and all that bullshit can always be changed.
Stay away from the oldest excuse in the book.
Yeah.
And instead of making an excuse to harm, torture, and kill, make an excuse to be kind.
Yeah.
You can never go wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. Lisa donated $3. Who do you prefer, Peter Singer or Gary L. Francione? Both of you. Great that Gary's back. You are the most charismatic in the vegan movement. Is Peter Singer the whack job who, like, yeah, wasn't
Menschenfarm Bullet gebissen.
he banned from a number of universities because he's like this weird consequentialist who said it's okay to like kill your kids as long as you replace them later?
Something like that. Or
Yeah,
mentally retarded
I'm
people.
not.
The truth is,
Ja, der hat in die Bullet gebissen, dass man Menschen farmen darf, also mit Tieren ersetzen. Was war nochmal? Ich glaube, weil wenn es der Gesellschaft nicht schadet.
I don't prefer either. I prefer Tom Regan, who passed away. Tom Regan was a guy that I listened to when I started in the 90s. He was a professor at NC State. I believe his book was The Case for Animal Rights. Regan, to me, was sharper and better than the others. And Francione's a hater on me, by the way. He didn't like law breaking, didn't like some of the things I said. I don't understand. I thought he was a radical dude, but I guess he's not. And Singer's got some far out ideas. But the truth is, you don't need either of them. You just follow your heart, get the information, man.
Also ich mag Francione.
Follow the street activists. I was never too big, by the way, on author activists. I find it odd that so many people, this author wrote this book. That's not activism. I like the people that were on the streets that were doing all the dirty work. People that were in the jailhouse, on the corner. Those are the people, the classroom. Those are the people that I like the most.
Well, Peter Singer to me is just absolutely cancerous. He, at least by any sensible definition of veganism, he's not even vegan. The only reason he says he's against eating meat or animal products is because the net consequence of it is negative, and he believes in theory you could raise animals where they have a net positive existence, and if you kill them quickly and painlessly, then you should keep raising animals because you'll have more good lives, and it creates net positivity. Like, that guy's just a fucking jackass.
It's outrageous. It's outrageous. And I'm sure he went okay that for himself.
Yeah, no
or
shit.
His family members or his friends. It's more hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And it's easy, by the way, it's easy to say things like that when you don't look at it from the victim's
Und man dürfte das auch mit Menschen machen.
point of view. He's looking at it from a victimizer's point of view. And I don't like anybody that does that. I look at everything just like you do. I look at it from how does the cow feel about this? How would the chicken feel about this? How would the rat in that experiment feel about it? He doesn't want to be your subject. He doesn't want to be tortured and killed and dissected and vivisected. Look at it from the victim's point of view. You can never go wrong.
Yeah. But thanks for the donation, Lisa. Ben Boy donated $2. Gary, do you think every vegan should make animal activism their primary cause they advocate for, or is it okay for vegans to care about other issues more than animal rights?
No other issues. It's animals. Again, forget about the human being, the scourge of the earth. Stop putting humans on a pedestal. Animals first, humans later.
Like, I think you can have multiple interests. So, like, my entire life doesn't just revolve around vegan activism. Some of it kind of intersects, like I'm into lifting, and some of that also plays into the vegan activism stuff. But, I like anime, manga, video games, motorcycles, cars, racing. A lot of that stuff doesn't necessarily intersect with activism, but, like, some level
You can have other hobbies, please have other interests. Absolutely. Listen to music and smoke a joint once in a while. Relax.
And, I think this, the same case can be made for, other forms of activism. There are political issues that are not necessarily going to be related to veganism, but, you don't want things like Trump's big, beautiful bill getting passed. I think it's totally fine for people to be politically involved. So I wouldn't say you should never do any other form of activism. But in terms of, importance, yeah, vegan activism, arguably, at least according to most people's values, is probably the most important when you're talking about, standing up for the most oppressed group, what could end the most amount of suffering. But I wouldn't say, you should only ever do vegan activism.
Just make sure any other issue you're getting involved with.
It doesn't intersect.
And not only that, but it's in your area. You can't affect what goes on in China and Russia and Israel and the Sudan if you're living in America or Canada or London. The big, beautiful bill, if you want to oppose it, you better be living in America. Trump doesn't care about what people in London think about that or people in Canada think about that. You got to focus on issues that you can actually influence. But this is a big mistake people make. I'm going to influence what these people do 8,000 miles away. No, you're not. They don't give a shit what you think.
Yeah,
you have to be a citizen of that country.
Yeah, so the Hassan Pikers of the world who just whine and complain about random bullshit they have no effect over, like I definitely avoid that sort of behavior.
It's just a waste of time, man.
Yeah, but if there's things in your area that could affect you or other people, like you could vote for a certain politician that might benefit your area in some way, that's totally fine. It's fine getting involved in other forms of activism, but avoid the intersectionality nonsense. Don't intertwine it with veganism because it just mutes veganism and everything else gets pushed to the forefront. But thanks for the donation, Ben Boy. Anon donates $2. What about the argument that more animals die from soy farming and other farming practices? I'm not totally educated on animal deaths and farming practices for crops.
First of all, you're trying to indict the vegan when you're just as guilty for this. If all things are equal, we all eat crops, and the meat eaters eat the animals that eat 50% of the crops on this planet. Stop acting like this is a vegan problem. This is a problem with farming, with agriculture. And by the way, we can solve this too, and we're going to have to solve it one day.
Für Omnis wird kein Crop angebaut, zum Glück. Nicht nur, dass die 80% Pflanzen essen, auch noch die Tiere, die fressen ja Unmengen an Pflanzen, aber es ist Alter.
Indoor agriculture, with vertical agriculture too, because of things that are going on with weather. And I don't mean to bring up the climate nonsense either. Okay, but there are issues going on where there are just freeze spells going on where crops are
Crop Deaths, da gibt es mittlerweile ungefähr 20 Counter dazu.
going to be lost. But if you did it indoor, you can control infestations, you can control all that other stuff. But the only way to control a
Der härteste Counter natürlich NTT wie immer.
slaughterhouse and to end the problem of the slaughterhouse is to close the motherfucker down and burn it to the ground. There's no other way to make a slaughterhouse peaceful, but we can figure out how to handle agriculture. As vegans, we don't claim there's no other problems on this planet. Just being alive, humans cause pain and suffering. We drive cars, we live in homes, we use air conditioning, we have heat, but we're all doing that. But vegans are better than everyone else, and I'm not embarrassed to say that, because we actually make one more effort than everyone else is doing by not causing
Veganer sind besser als alle anderen, sagt er.
superfluous amounts of cruelty, unnecessary amounts of harm to innocent beings that don't deserve it. So this is why veganism is still the answer. When we all become vegan and stop eating those animals, then let's get together. Then we'll get together and solve the other issues on the problem.
Well, the whole vegans cause more animal deaths argument is just fucking retarded, and it's completely baseless. So for one thing, animal agriculture uses more land, it uses more resources. Cows, chickens, and pigs have to eat what you think they eat the crops you eat for the most part. So that just creates more animal deaths. You're actually causing more field deaths, and on top of that, the animals that you're eating also get killed. Secondly, if everyone switched to a vegan food system, we'd use less land for agriculture. That would save more, more animals who get killed in fields. And the claim, like even the claim that animals get killed in field agriculture is extremely dubious because you have to think of the counterfactual. Animals die in the wilderness. So if animals die in the wilderness, what's the comparator? So if you're going to use, like, say, square mile of farmland that would be in wilderness, are more animals dying versus if we didn't do any farming? I have no idea. I haven't seen any actual evidence for it, so I don't know why I'd accept that at face value.
And how about this? At least the animals have a chance to get away.
Well,
they
yeah.
have a chance to get away in a slaughterhouse in the meat industry. They don't get maybe one or two escape every year, but you're in an open field. You can see the tractor coming. You can hear the tractor coming. You can see the guy coming out spraying whatever, and you can make an escape. At least there's a chance.
Well, that's another thing too. A lot of people don't know how some of these this farm equipment works. Those like combine harvesters. I've seen meat eaters say, "Oh, the combine harvester shreds animals to pieces." You can literally lay underneath them and you'll be fine. They don't go right towards the ground and like shred everything up. They actually go up pretty high. So a human being can lay underneath it. So if a rabbit's underneath it, nothing's gonna happen. On top of that, yeah, they run away. If you hear a big scary machine, you leave. So there's some research on this. I can't remember the exact number, but it is shockingly low. The amount of animals that can actually be attributed to dying from farm equipment, like remarkably low. It would blow your mind. More animals die from getting killed by other animals in a field than from farm equipment, like by far. So there's just no argument to support the idea that farming even kills more animals, period. Like, at least when you're talking about like farming for soy or corn, because what's the counterfactual? Like, animals die in the wild. So what's the comparator? And on top of that, again, there's some studies on this. Way more animals die in these corn and soy fields from getting killed by other animals like birds of prey than from farm equipment. It's practically zero. And you can also just think of this, from the vegan perspective. Like if animals had the same rights as humans, would we have an issue with humans dying in agriculture? If there were like mentally disabled humans running around in a field, would we have a problem with like some of them dying from farm equipment? Probably not. There's mentally like dumb, drunk, stupid humans that walk out into traffic. People still drive cars. Like it happens. There's accidents that happen. Like in terms of insects, we spray pesticides.
Ja, da kommen die ganzen Counter gegen Crop Deaths, though.
If there were humans that, could buzz around and eat crops, like would we have an issue with spraying for pesticides for like humans that are kind of mentally disabled and have wings? Probably not. Like it's protection of property. So.
And keep in mind for all the vegans out there, when you hear this, be careful about the disingenuousness of this question.
Yeah.
The people asking this are meat eaters, and they don't give a shit about cows, pigs, and chickens like they don't give a shit about the insects or the pheasants or the bunny rabbits. They're just trying to catch us in some kind of...
Ja, genau, die setzen sich für die Insekten ein, töten aber große Landsäugetiere, die garantiert sentient sind. Und diesen Schwachsinn kannst du einfach nicht ausdenken, aber ja, das sind Debatten mit Omnis, ne?
The contradiction, but again, I'm tired.
Da gibt alles keinen Sinn, alles nur Logikfehler oder so ein unsäglicher Schwachsinn, aber ja. Die sind nicht umsonst Omnis. So bitter sich das anhört, aber das ist dann nun mal die Wahrheit.
It's their contradiction too. We're all in the same contradiction if it even happens, but we take a step further by eliminating the superfluous amounts of cruelty by living the vegan lifestyle. It's still the preferable and better lifestyle.
I even reject the idea that it's a contradiction. Like, again, there's no evidence that we're actually killing more animals than would otherwise be killed, and I don't see these deaths in agriculture as
I can
a
deal
rights
with that.
violation.
That's
So,
absolutely
yeah.
That's sharp. That's sharp stuff, man. It's good
But
stuff.
thanks, Anon. Dodo donated $2. Well, some homophobic Christian nuts like Steven Anderson would disagree with. He even did a sermon saying animals are not people. Well, nobody really cares what they think. But thanks for that donation, Dodo.
He's an idiot.
Axel Bertel Dahlstrom donated $3. Happy slaves are still slaves, and animal slavery fucktards. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, even if you could argue some of these animals don't realize they're being enslaved and, you know, they're living ostensibly good lives, they're still slaves. Like if we're enslaving mentally disabled people who didn't realize it, we'd still think it's wrong. So yeah.
Or babies.
Yeah. But thanks, Axel.
Human babies.
Ben Overbitch, $22. What's up, my fellow Yankee Gary? Once I heard you say forget about it, I was like, yep, I knew he had that Yankee mentality like me. Thank you for helping me, and along with Vegan Gains for helping me go vegan in 2018. Much love to both of you. I'm from Ohio, by the way. Thank you, Ben. Are you still banned from Canada, by the way?
Yeah, actually, oddly enough, for some reason, I decided to call the customs border earlier this year and checked if I can get across. They looked me up and said, you are banned for life.
Jeez.
Now, what I don't know is London, the United Kingdom, also banned me, and they've invited me out to the veg camp out next year. I said, well, it depends. So I haven't investigated yet if that's a lifetime ban.
Is that because of the Canada thing, the mink farm?
It's outrageous. I disagree with why Canada banned me. I think they should understand what I was doing, but I get it. I went there. I broke a law. I caused a couple $1 million in damage. I know why they banned me, but I've never even been to the United Kingdom. Why in the world would they ban me because of what I did in Canada? Especially if you think
Canada's technically still a British colony. We actually never officially seceded, so that's probably why.
Could be, but you think about how stupid it is. If I wanted to go to the United Kingdom and talk about killing animals, I'd be welcome. But I want to go there and say stop killing animals. All of a sudden, I'm banned.
Well,
it's
you know what's
absolutely
fucked?
backwards.
You know what's absolutely fucked? There's a university professor that lives in Ontario. He runs some like humanities course. You know, it's like the lefty social justice warrior feminism crap. Can't remember what exactly he's a professor of. He's an Islamic terrorist. He killed about a dozen people in France. He fled the country and was in hiding for a while, moved to Canada. He works here as a professor. He's still wanted in France. They haven't deported him. They're refusing to deport him. He killed a dozen people, but you're still banned.
Yeah, outrageous. I tried to say 1,542 mink, but I got banned and sentenced to jail.
Things are backwards, but maybe sometime I can come over to Detroit and bring my sidecar and we can rip around.
Hell yeah, man, let's do it. By the way, I'm fading, man. I'm fading fast. How long are you going for?
There's a few more donations. Salen donated $10, hillbilly redneck impression. I'm not going to do impressions right now, maybe later. But thanks for the donation, Salen. Bootycom donated $2, does very like UK drill.
I don't know what that is.
UK drill rap.
Oh, I haven't heard.
Okay, I guess not. Thanks for the donation.
I like rap. I like battle rap. but I don't know what that is. I'll go check it out.
It's terrible. I think you'd hate it, but I hate it anyway. Once donated $3.
I'm probably not going to like it.
It's pretty bad. Do you think there will be war or civil war in the future regarding animal liberators versus oppressor? Also off topic, what are your all thoughts on prostitution? Should it be legal or not?
Yes, I do think there's going to be a civil war one day. There always seems to be. One day we're going to have enough and we're going to take up arms on behalf of the innocent victims. It always happens. And it's a shame. I don't say this with glee. I don't say it happily, but sometimes you have to kill other people to get them to stop killing somebody else. It's happened before and it's probably going to happen, yeah.
I don't think there's ever been like a fascist dictatorship that's ever been overthrown without the use of violence. I don't know if there would ever be a civil war when it comes to animal rights because we're not technically living in a fascist dictatorship. We're definitely fascist towards animals. But there's a good chance just because of the democratic bureaucratic systems that we have can just be resolved peacefully and just be voted against. So I'm not sure. I know when it comes to human oppression, I don't think there's ever been a case where some sort of like fascist dictatorship, like the end of slavery or the end of like a genocidal regime or a communist regime, like that's always required violent intervention. Not so sure if when it comes to animals. I would, if I had to bet, I'd say there's a greater probability it could end non-violently than violently. But I'm not so sure. And thoughts on prostitution, victimless crime.
I agree. I don't understand that either. If it's consensual and everybody is a willing participant, leave people alone.
And I mean, it happens. Like, go to an Asian massage parlor. It happens all the time. Like, there's probably prostitution going on across the street. You just don't know about it. So, like, why ban it?
As long as there's no sex slavery involved. But again, if this is consensual amongst adults, then let it happen.
Yeah. But you're getting a bit tired, right? So let's just wrap things up in the next few minutes. If anybody has any other questions and wants to donate, just do it now. We've raised $661, so that's pretty good. This is all going to go to Sasha's Farm Sanctuary, and so if anybody wants to donate any more money, just do it now in the next few minutes. But is there any other topic you wanted to cover?
I think we covered just about everything, my man. It was a great talk. I really enjoyed listening to you too, Richard, man. You got good stuff. You got a good mind, solid mind, clear, logical. I love it.
Thanks. Yeah, and it was good finally talking to you. Like, we agree on a lot of things. I'm glad that there wasn't any stupid thing like you're anti-Zionist or any, horse shit, and then I had to get into
I knew we were going to get along. We always liked each other. I liked you from the get-go as soon as we met online. I think it was on Facebook, man. I said, this guy's cool. I think him.
Any good movies or TV shows or anything you watched recently?
It's funny, since I've been in Germany, I haven't really turned on the TV set. When I was in Frankfurt for a week, though, I started watching Breaking Bad for the third time. Always a good episode to watch, but I really haven't been watching much lately. I'm a YouTube guy.
Right. You into anime at all?
No, I'm not.
No? There's actually two that I would kind of recommend. One of them isn't exactly tied to veganism, but I think you'd be interested in the ethical dilemma. It's called Death Note. It's kind of an anime for people who aren't into anime.
Ja, ist ganz gut.
It's sort of like it's a supernatural crime thriller, and it's about a book where if you write anyone's name in it, they die. So you'd probably be into that one. And I'd also recommend a manga. It's basically a Japanese comic. It's called Gantz. Huge animal rights message in that. A lot of people in the anime community never bring it up because, like, I guess a lot of them aren't into veganism. You would be blown away by that story, especially towards the end. Huge animal rights message. I don't want to spoil too much of it for you, but humans are literally like treated like animals by an alien race by the end of it. You'd really be into it. Highly recommend. It's just a really amazing read.
I'll send you after the show.
Yeah, I'll send you a link. But yeah, Death Note and Gantz are fucking incredible. You should watch Death Note, but read Gantz. It's fucking amazing.
I will.
Anon donated $2. Free all the fish in the fish tanks too. Yeah, absolutely. Fish and chickens are probably the most like neglected for whatever reason.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the most abused. We kill more. No one dies more on the land than chickens, and obviously the fish in the sea, man. And then now I hear the numbers that we used to use weren't even accurate. I used to say 90 billion marine animals. Now they're saying it's in the trillions. So who knows how many. Keep in mind how badly fish got it. We don't count each fish. We weigh them to see how many fish have died. That's how much they're mistreated and they're devalued.
Yeah, and fish are really intelligent, and like they're a lot like
amazing.
They're a lot like our pets, like dogs, cats. They can be like affectionate and curious and everything. It's a shame.
Absolutely.
Bootycom donates $2. Great VG. Just hate UK drill. He got no taste. It's terrible. Trust me. I wish you knew about it so you could back me up. But thanks for
Ja, vor allem können Fische rechnen immer noch Plus und Minus.
the donation, Bootycom. Cora donated $5. Thanks. The guy turned me vegan, and the guy turned him. I think they meant Gary. I don't know if that's like a typo, but thanks for the donation, Cora. Zohar donated $5. Favorite vegan restaurant in Berlin. Have you had anything in Berlin?
I haven't been in Berlin. I've just been in Frankfurt and in Cologne. In Frankfurt, any one of near Rosenfeld's 7 restaurants. I think 269 was my favorite. And here, there's a vegan buffet I'm eating at every night. That's where I'm going right now. It's called Sattgrun, Sattgrun, Sattgrun.
Any good ones in Detroit?
Man, Detroit, we've lost so many lately. Cacao Tree has been there for a long time. I've always liked that. It's actually the only place you can get a really good salad. Sometimes it's hard to get a really good salad. Cacao Tree has been around since I've been vegan. Other than that, we've lost 4 or 5 vegan joints.
Das will einfach nicht zu Ende gehen, Alter.
But it's weird. There's still more vegan food. So most restaurants are now vegan friendly, but we've lost the vegan joints.
Yeah, similar thing happened in Toronto. They just raised rent like crazy in the city, and a lot of them had to close down. It's bullshit. But that looks like it's it for the donos. But thanks for coming on and chatting. Raised a good amount of money for Sasha, $675, and hopefully some people also just donated directly on their website. So awesome, I'll send that money over later today. But thanks, Gary. Thanks for coming on. It was great meeting you.
I love talking to you, Vegan Gains, man. And let's do it again.
Yeah.
I got some more crazy stories that I can tell you too.
Yeah, let's do it again. I'll send you, the Gains manga. I think you'd love it. It's just a crazy fucking story. Huge animal rights message too. I think I can actually turn you into a weeb, get you into some manga.
All right, my man. Thank you so much for talking to me today, man. I appreciate it.
All right, well,
thanks for helping Sasha Farm. Love you,
no problem. All right, well, hope everybody had fun. Thanks a lot for the donations, guys. And again, if you want to donate directly, check out Sasha Farm. Links in the description. But thanks again, Gary.
Peace out.
Okay, und damit ist das Video zu Ende. Ja, Leute, vielen Dank, dass ihr dabei wart. War ein sehr langer Stream, vielleicht der längste überhaupt. Ja, das beste Interview aller Zeiten, würde ich sagen. Genau die Themen angesprochen, die super interessant sind für Veganer, halt die kritischen Themen.